Today's episode is brought to you by thisdayinthenfl.com. Celebrating football's greatest moments, one day at a time. Listen to classic broadcasts, explore historic games, and keep the legacy of the NFL alive at thisdayinthenfl.com.
Now, here's Phil Samp.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati, where this afternoon the Bengals take on the Miami Dolphins. It's an overcast, drizzly afternoon here in Cincinnati. It's been raining or drizzling off and on throughout the morning. The tarp was on the field until about 11 o'clock, and after they've taken it off, of course, has become wet, and this field is going to be slippery in spots. The Bengals and Dolphins come in the same position. Although the records are diametrically opposed, the Bengals are 4-5, Miami is 7-2, but both teams are one game behind their division leaders. Both have had the problem of moving the ball and scoring many points in these last three games. The Bengals have been unable to get it into the end zone, and the Dolphins have not been able to get it into the end zone much better. Last week, their defense was rock hard as they knocked off New England 17-5, and this is a young Dolphin defense, but it's getting better and better as each game goes along. The Bengals this afternoon will have Coy Bacon back in at a defensive end spot. Kenny Johnson will start at defensive tackle in place of Walter Johnson. Kenny Johnson was going to start at tackle last week against the Vikings in the absence of Eddie Edwards, but was unable to because of an injury. Lamar Parrish is out again as he re-injured his ankle Thursday of this week, so Mel Morgan will be starting at that cornerback spot again. Ike Curtis, of course, is out. Curtis probably will be out for the rest of the year, and chances are good that he'll be undergoing surgery on that knee in the near future, although the decision has not been made definitely. The Dolphins won the toss. They've elected to receive. The Bengals will kick off left to right as we look at Riverfront Stadium, north to south. The Bengals in their black uniforms, and the Miami Dolphins in their white or aqua. Their numbers are a little bit more easily to ascertain than they were a few years ago. This is the first time since 1974 that these two teams have met. The Bengals have only beaten the Dolphins twice in regular season games, and they came in 68 and 69. Since that time, they have had no luck whatsoever. Terry Anderson and Gary Davis are the deep men. There's Barr's kick. It sails over toward the far side. Intended receiver slips, and it goes back into the end zone, and Terry Anderson will down it there. So we had the first slip of the game right on the opening kickoff. Anderson getting set to field that kickoff. Slipped and it bounced over his head and was downed. It'll come out to the 20. Bob Greasy is the quarterback. At the running back spots, they have Gary Davis and Leroy Harris. They have the wide men split out on both sides. Greasy hands off, coming on the left side, cutting in up to the 25, breaking away at the 27, 28, and all the way up to the 30 comes Leroy Harris. Harris, a rookie, comes from Park State. And we have a Bengal player down on the ground and injured right here on the first play of the afternoon. Down at the 25-yard line, it's Marvin Cobb, who injured a knee last week, and the Bengals, through injuries to this defensive unit, are very, very thin indeed. So Jerry Anderson, the rookie, goes in as Marvin Cobb is still down on his knees at the 25-yard line. Gary Davis, a second-year man from Cal Poly at San Luis Obispo, is one running back, and Leroy Harris, the rookie, is the other. Benny Malone is their leading rusher, but Malone has really had problems here in the last few games. He's been fumbling the ball, hasn't gained many yards. And Norm Bulas, the other starting running back, is troubled by a hamstring. Big Boo has had injuries throughout his career. So Marvin Cobb is up on his feet now. Dr. Ballou and Mar Pollins accompany him to the sidelines as he walks under his own power. So on the first play, the Dolphins pick up about 9 yards and have a 2nd and 1 out at the 29. They have Nat Moore and Duriel Harris as the wide receivers. Andre Tillman is the tight end. We'll set the offensive line for you in a moment. Everybody is tight. The backs are in an eye in a short yardage situation. Nat Moore goes in motion on a flanker out to the right. Greasy hands it off into the right side, breaking out to the 35. A fumble, and the Bengals have picked it up. Kenny Riley loses the ball as it was lateraled, and now the Bengals, I believe, have recovered at about the 44. Let's see who's there. They do. Somebody had recovered that ball and tried to lateral it back to Ken Riley. It was either Reggie Williams or Burley. Reggie Williams recovered the ball and tried to lateral it to Riley, and it got away from Riley. And somebody recovered it right in front of the Bengals bench, I believe Burley, down at about the Miami Dolphin 44-yard line. So we have a real scramble on that play, as there was good yardage picked up by the Dolphins before they lost the ball.
That's the kind of fill that'll give the old coach heart failure since it happens right in front of him.
All right, the Bengals at the Dolphin 44 with the 1st and 10. Anderson hands off into the right side, breaking out his booby down to the 40, 35, down to the 30. Archie Griffin, rather, at the 25-yard line. And Archie picking up 19 yards on a gallop. Went into the right side. There was no hole there. Griffin starting after being out the last couple of weeks, then cut to the right side and got all the way down to the 25-yard line. In the last game that Griffin started, he carried the ball 10 times and had a -3 yards. But he ripped off 19 from scrimmage on the first play this afternoon. Finally hauled down back in the secondary by a couple of men. McAnally and Brooks are the wide receivers. Booby Clark and Archie Griffin are the running backs. Kenny Anderson is the quarterback. Bengals with the first down at the Dolphin 25. Now Griffin goes in motion. Handoff. Clark in over left tackle. Gets a couple of yards, and then he's slammed down by A.J. Dewey, along with Bob Matheson, one of the inside linebackers. Thrown back, but he picked up a couple of yards on the play. Bob Baumauer is the nose tackle. A.J. Dewey and Vern Den Herter are the ends. They play the 3-4, of course. Kim Camper and Larry Gordon are the outside linebackers, with Steve Toll, the leading tackler on the team, and Bob Matheson in the middle. Norris Thomas and Curtis Johnson are the cornerbacks. Tim Foley is the strong safety, and Vern Robertson, a first-year man, substituting for the injured Charlie Babb, is the free safety. The Bengals with a 2nd and 8 at the Dolphin 23. Brooks and McAnally split on opposite sides. Anderson back to pass. Going to have to throw. Now he goes down at the 32-yard line. The blitz was on. Coming from the left side was Kim Camper, and he got him around the shoulder pads and dropped him back at about the 32-yard line just as Anderson tried to scramble up. So the blitz coming off the 3-4 results in Anderson being sacked on the first attempted pass of the afternoon, and that is the 24th time that Bengal quarterbacks have been nailed this year. It's a loss of 3. Now it becomes 3rd and 11 at the 31.
That 3-4, as Archie pointed out on the pregame show, is tough to run against. And with those 4 linebackers, you never know what direction that blitz might come from. It can come from any direction. It can be very, very bad.
Cornerbacks off the line of scrimmage. Brooks right, McAnally left. Again back to throw is Anderson. Now he's forced to run. Fires out, a dive and a catch at about the 29-yard line out in the right flat. It was Booby Clark who came off into the right flat, only a couple of yards upfield. He caught the ball and slipped, and a flag is down on a play. We're going to have a penalty against the Miami Dolphins. Pat Haggerty is the referee this afternoon. Al Conway, Walt Peters, Bob Beeks, Jim Poole, and Bob Lewis are the other officials in Pat Haggerty's crew, and they're moving the ball all the way down to the 15-yard line. Oh, watch Pat Haggerty, and we'll get the call from him, and you probably can pick it up. It's roughing a passer, a late hit called against the Miami Dolphins, and the 15-yard walk-off gives the Bengals a first down all the way down at the 15-yard line. So a big break for the Bengals, and the Dolphins have not been a heavily penalized team throughout the year. They have had only 36 penalties called on them up to this point. That is an average of just 4 a game. But they got a late hit on Anderson right there, and the Bengals have a first down at the Dolphin 15. Across the front, the Bengals have Mays and Holland. Bob Johnson is the center, Dave Lapham the right guard, and Shinners and Bujnak alternated left guard. Wide men split both sides. The backs are in an eye. Handoff Griffin, bursts in over the left side. Archie down to about the 10-yard line. Booby Clark led the way into the hole. Griffin followed him right in over left guard. Finally dropped down at the 10-yard line. Bob Baumauer, the nose tackle, and a couple of others in there to make the stop, and not until Griffin had wheeled off 5 yards. And the Bengals will have a 2nd and 5 at the Dolphin 10. There's no score. The Dolphins took the opening kickoff. They fumbled, was recovered by Reggie Williams, and a lateral went awry, but the Bengals finally fell on a ball back at the 44 and started from there. McAnally goes left, Brooks comes right. Now Norris Thomas comes right up the line of scrimmage. Archie Griffin goes in motion off the left side. It's a pitch. Around the left side is Clark, and he is hit. Gets away, gets a couple of yards. He was hit first by A.J. Dewey, the right end, and he slowed him up. But he couldn't bring him down all the way, and Clark went in, picked up about 2 yards, perhaps down to the 8-yard line, before he was finally hauled down. So at the 8-yard line now, it becomes 3rd and 3. Shinners comes out, Bujnak comes in with a play. Big third down play for the Bengals, who are at the Dolphins' 8-yard line. No score. We played just a little over 3 minutes in this game. So now Billy Brooks on the flank, about 6 yards wide to the left. Now he comes in motion over toward the right side. For the 3rd and 3, Anderson drops back to throw. Again, the blitz is on. Looks, fires out in the flat over the head of Booby Clark, who tried to flag it down with one hand, but a flag is thrown on a play. It's going to be a holding penalty against the Cincinnati Bengals. Pat Haggerty is not giving the number. He just called it a hold against the Bengals, and it would either be 4th down or the Dolphins will elect a penalty, and it'll come out to the 18-yard line and be 3rd and 13. And they are going to accept the walk-off, which will bring it out to the 18-yard line. The Dolphins used a lot of coverages. As we heard Bill Johnson say in a pregame show, very, very difficult to diagnose.
Holding
called against Bob Trumpy. So Trumpy, number 84, is guilty of the hold. And the Bengals have a 3rd and 13 now at the Dolphin 18-yard line. Norris Thomas, their left cornerback, is a first-year man from southern Mississippi. Vern Robertson, the free safety, also a first-year man. Now Trumpy comes over the right side. Wide men split on both sides, and Anderson drops back to throw. Looking now, he's forced to run off the right and is going to be hit. A flag is thrown, and Anderson is dropped back at the 27. I think the Bengals may be called for a nothing holder penalty. Bob Baumauer was the man in on top of Anderson. And Kenny hasn't gotten much protection this afternoon thus far. So the Bengals, who were down as far as the 8, drew a 10-yard penalty that took it out to the 18, and now may be assessed with another one, or the Dolphins.
Rufus Mays this time.
It's called on Rufus Mays. The Dolphins have declined it, and Chris Barr will go in for a field goal attempt. Coming into the game, Barr is 9 out of 15. The line of scrimmage is the 27. It'll be about a 44-yard attempt. And Barr on the year, outside of 40 yards, is 1 out of 4. It'll be placed down by Marvin Cobb at the 34. The lines are down. The ball is snapped. The kick is up in the air. It is plenty long, and it is plenty good. So Marvin Cobb drills it from 44 yards out. There's time out on the field. With the score now, Bengals 3, Dolphins nothing.
It's good news, America. Chevy's new size Malibu. Good news about size, good news about food, good news about styling too.
The new size Malibu is just full of good news, America. Good news about a nifty new size on the outside and an amazing amount of room on the inside. There's good news about trunk space. Good news about ride and comfort and value. And the good news comes 3 ways, as a coupe, a sedan, and a wagon. It's a whole lot of good news, America. And it's at your Chevy dealers now.
There's good news in the trunk space, in the ride and comfort too. It's good news, America. Chevy new size Malibu. It's good news, America. Chevy new size Malibu.
See what's new today in a Chevrolet.
Chevy new size Malibu.
Chris Barr is now 10 out of 16 in field goals this year, and between 40 and 49 yards. He is now 2 out of 4. Was 1 out of 3 before that one from 44 yards out. So with 11:18 to go in the first quarter, it's the Bengals 3, the Dolphins nothing. Again, Anderson and Davis are the deep men as Barr kicks off. This kick is very high. We take it by Davis at the 5, up to the 10, to the 15, to the 20, to the 25, hit there and falls forward to about the 28-yard line. He was nailed by Glenn Cameron, who hit him at the 25, and he kind of slithered off the tackle and fell out to the 27-yard line. So that's where the Dolphins will start out for the second time this afternoon on offense. They fumbled on the first series and set up the Bengal field goal. Marvin Cobb is back in the Bengal secondary now after being shaken up in that first series. So it's Morgan, Riley, Casanova, and Cobb back deep. They have Duriel Harris and Nat Moore. They're 2 scooting wide receivers. Split wide, and the backs are in an eye. Hand off to the second man, bursts up over the middle, crosses the 30, gets to about the 33. Gary Davis on that trap straight up the middle, knocked down by Reggie Williams, the right side linebacker, but not until he'd gained about 6 yards on the play. Gary Davis has run the ball pretty well for the Miami Dolphins, although the figures do not show that. He's averaged only 2 9/10 yards per try on 54. And Leroy Harris coming into this game had only carried 17 times. Malone and Bulash are the normal starters, but neither one is starting. Dolphins with a 2nd and 4 out at their 33-yard line. Backs offset now to the left. Greasy goes back to throw. Flag is down. Fires upfield. At midfield, it's caught. Riley drags down the man immediately, Duriel Harris. Leva Bengal came across the line of scrimmage too quickly. Wilson Whitley tried to pop in and couldn't get back. Duriel Harris downfield did that hook about 15 yards downfield toward the inside. Riley. It is against the Bengals. It's declined, and the Dolphins have a first down on Greasy's first pass of the afternoon right at midfield. Greasy is the top-ranked passer in the AFC and second in the NFL behind Roger Staubach of the Dallas Cowboys. Now Moore and Harris go in a slot formation out to the right. Bob Greasy barking out the signals. Hands off around the outside comes Leroy Harris, and he breaks through for about 10 yards. All the way down to the 38-yard line before he's wrestled around by Jim LeClaire.
He started in off the right side, then cut back toward the center of the field and ripped up 12 big yards. Went in right over left tackle and cut back down to the Bengals 38, and it's another quick first down. He's a 220-pounder at only 5'9" in height. He's a difficult guy to get hold of. Leroy Harris and Gary Davis, and the Dolphins with a first down at the Bengal 38. They have Nat Moore and Duriel Harris split on opposite sides. Bob Greasy fakes, back to throw, downfield quickly, incomplete. Intercepted by Riley. He's over at the 25 to the 30-yard line and out of bounds at about the 33. It popped off the hands of Duriel Harris down at about the 20-yard line, tipped away, and Kenny Riley picked it out of the air. Jimmy, it's amazing. Kenny Riley led the AFC in interceptions last year with 9, and that is his first one of the year.
A lot of times, Phil, it's just being in the right spot at the right time, and when things are going bad for a ball club, as they have at times this year for the Cincinnati Bengals, you just can't seem to do anything right. But Ken Riley was in the right spot at the right time that time, did a little bit of a juggling act, but finally pulled the ball in, ran out of bounds at the 34-yard line.
That's only Greasy's 8th interception of the year, so the Bengals stopped that threat. McAnally and Brooks now are split wide. Hand off Clark in over the right side. Booby cuts out to the 40 and comes all the way out to the 42, and he rammed into Vern Robertson and just knocked him right straight back. But in the process of the collision, Clark went down. So from the 33-yard line, it's all the way out to the 44, an 11-yard burst in through the right side, and the Bengals have a quick first down. Bengals lead at 3-0 with 9:15 left to play in this first quarter. Chris Barr booted a 44-yard field goal. Drizzling off and on here at the stadium. McAnally right, Brooks left. Griffin and Booby Clark, the running backs behind Anderson. This time it's Clark in over the left side. Again, a good-sized hole opens up. Booby is up over midfield down to the Dolphin 48-yard line. Bob Baumauer, along with Steve Towle, pinned him down. Towle hit him at the line of scrimmage and spun him off balance, but he couldn't bring him down, and Booby fell forward, falling at the time, and still managed to pick up about 8 yards on the play, and it'll be 2nd and 2. So both Griffin and Booby Clark have been gobbling up good chunks of yardage here in this first quarter. McAnally right, Brooks left. Handoff in over the side goes Griffin, and he's hit. The flag is down. Nailed by Steve Towle, the inside linebacker, after a very short gain, perhaps a yard or two. Archie trying to go in left tackle. It's an illegal motion against the Cincinnati Bengals.
First quarter, the Cleveland Browns leading the New York Giants by a score of 7-0. Here at Riverfront Stadium, the drizzle continues. It's raining very lightly, but yet right overhead there are patches of blue sky.
So the illegal motion penalty is walked off by referee Pat Haggerty. Against Pat McAnally, who may have gone before the ball was snapped or not lined up on the line of scrimmage. He is the split end. But an illegal motion would indicate that he might have gone a little bit too soon. So it'll be 2nd and 7 for the Bengals, now back at their own 47. McAnally far side, Brooks near side, back split behind Anderson. Anderson back to throw. The blitz is on. Fires upfield. Is caught by Griffin, who spins away and now is knocked down right at midfield. Right on him was Bob Matheson as Griffin went out on the left flat and took that pass at about the Dolphin 48-yard line. Upfield about 5 yards, spun around and dropped by Matheson at the Dolphins 49-yard line. So it is a gain of 4 on the play. And now the Bengals will look at a 3rd down and about 3. Glenn Bujnak checks in at left guard, and now the skies are clearing, and the sun is out partly here as we have some sunshine out on the field.
And still on top of the dugout down here, you can see the rain falling.
3rd and 3 at the Dolphin 49. McAnally and Brooks on opposite sides. Back to throw. Anderson will have to hurry. Blindsided and hit and nailed by Bob Matheson. And Anderson really hit hard. Nobody picked up Matheson at all. He just stormed right in on top of Anderson. One of the backs did not pick him up at all, and he just blew right on by and nailed Anderson from the back. He never saw him coming. So Anderson is sacked for the 2nd time this afternoon. Back at the Bengals 41, a loss of 8, and McAnally will have to boot it.
Anderson is a little bit groggy as he comes over to the sideline. He really got blindsided, but good.
So there are 3 safeties back for the Miami Dolphins. McAnally has the best net punting average in the league, and he gets a pretty good boot away. It'll be taken by Anderson at the 15. Running wide, cuts upfield, gets to the 20, to the 25, on the outside to the 30, and Reggie Williams comes over and will run him out of bounds at about the 34. So Terry Anderson. Direction was Freddie Solomon, who ran it back, and there's a timeout on the field with the score, Bengals 3, Dolphins nothing.
When you have a family, you just can't do it alone.
Sailing
Sailing is an art. Sailing is a science. To ride the wind across the finish line takes a flawless partnership. The horse and jockey get the cheers of the crowd, but the trainer is the unseen partner in that winning combination.
When you have a family, you just can't do it alone.
No matter how you arrange your life or your tennis game, there's a time when you just can't do it alone. Your Grange insurance agent is well qualified to be your partner. He can protect those you love and the precious things you own. It's good to know you can turn to Grange Mutual for auto, home, business, and homeowners insurance, and for life. Let's be partners.
The Dolphins were only 6-8 last year, but with the return of Bill Arnsparger, their defensive staff is back together, solidly entrenched, and they are an improved ball club this year. The Dolphins start out. Hand off, going into the lines. Leroy Harris, the hold is there. He's out to the 40, going the other side, a 45 and a 47-yard line. Started left, cut back to his right. Finally, Wilson Whitley came back to haul him down. Big Leroy Harris found running room in over that left side. Romped it upfield for 12 yards to the 47 and a quick Dolphin first down. The running games of both teams have been operating pretty well this afternoon. Greasy has thrown a couple of passes, been intercepted once. Anderson's been sacked a couple of times. Nat Moore and Duriel Harris split on opposite sides. The Dolphins now out at their own 47. Greasy back to throw. It's a quick out. Throws it out in the right flat. Is caught down at the 45-yard line goes Nat Moore with Kenny Riley. A quick out to Nat Moore over on the left side. A short pattern that time, but it's good for about 7 or 8 yards. Spotted down just inside the Bengals' 45-yard line. In fact, they'll put it right at the 44, so there's a gain of about 9, and it'll be 2nd and 1. They go tight right side now. Duriel Harris split left. When Freddie Solomon was healthy, they played the 3 running backs a number of times, or wide receivers. Into the line goes Leroy Harris, and he plunges down inside the 40 to about the 39 in the grasp of Wilson Whitley. Kenny Johnson is playing the left tackle spot. Wilson Whitley is the right tackle. Gary Burley is the left end. Coy Bacon is the right end. That is the Dolphin first down inside the Bengals 40 at the 39. Bengals lead it 3-0 on Chris Barr's 44-yard field goal. Now Harris and Moore in a slot formation to the right. Greasy barking out the signals. Handoff Leroy Harris hit behind the line of scrimmage by Bull Harris before he ever got going. Harris was blitzing in. Bull Harris hit Leroy Harris, and the Harris boys met there, and the loser was Leroy of the Dolphins. He may have slipped a little bit as he started out, but Bull Harris just came in from the left side linebacking spot and dropped him for a loss of 2 yards back to the 42.
Phil pointed out Harris is not that big. He's only 5'9", but he weighs 220 pounds. As a senior at Arkansas State, he led the nation, averaging 7 yards per carry.
Now they split the wide receivers at opposite sides. The backs for the big split. 2nd and 12 at the Bengal 42. And Greasy goes back to throw. Looks, now fires upfield down the middle. Incomplete. Off the hand of Nat Moore. 3 men were down there around him, Mel Morgan, Riley, and Marvin Cobb. Moore got one hand on the ball, his left one, I believe, as he reached out, but couldn't hold on to it. He threw it right down the middle, running that post pattern, so it's incomplete. And now back at the Bengals 42, the Dolphins will look at a 3rd and 13.
Once again, Bob Greasy got good protection from people like Mike Current, Larry Little, Jim Langer, Kuchenberg, Wayne Moore, those people up front. A lot of experience up there, and they do a good job of protecting their quarterback.
Kenny Johnson comes off now, and Glenn Cameron comes in as the Bengals go to that 3-4 defense. And with Little and Kuchenberg and Langer, that's as good an interior as there is on any team. And they've obtained Mike Curran from Tampa Bay at right tackle, Wayne Moore at left tackle. Passing situation, 3rd and 13. Greasy back to throw. Looking now, he's going to run. He's down to the 40, be hit and dragged down at the 36-yard line by Gary Burley. So Greasy moves it down to the 36-yard line. It'll bring up a 4th down now and about 7 yards to go for the first down. And Garo Yepremian is not coming in, so it indicates that they're going to boot. It would be about a 53-yard field goal attempt. So they are going to boot it away. Mike Michelle, the rookie from Stanford, is the fella who does the punting for the Miami Dolphins. So Gary Burley sliced back from his left-end spot and hit Bob Greasy in the middle to drop him. Steve Holden is the middleman. Jerry Anderson and Tony Davis are on the flanks for the Bengals. There's a snap back to Michelle.
Takes plenty of time, angles it high, but it goes right straight down the middle of the field. Holden calls a fair catch, drops it, and the Dolphins have it at the 7-yard line. Holden never should have tried to fair catch the ball at the 7. It went right through his arms, and Rusty Chambers fell on it, and the Dolphins have the ball at the 7-yard line. Now there's a timeout on the field with the score, Bengals 3, Dolphins nothing. The Dolphins have run off a play. They made about a yard down to the 5. It's 2nd and goal. They've got Nottingham and Davis now in at the running back spots. Leroy Harris went out. Greasy goes back to throw. Looks, fires up. Touchdown on a quick cross to Nat Moore. Nat Moore on a quick slant in front of Mel Morgan, and the Dolphins, as a result of that fumble by Steve Holden at the 7-yard line on the punt, have capitalized on it. A 5-yard touchdown pass from Greasy to Nat Moore, and the Dolphins go out in front by a score of 6-3. That was a quick slant. Greasy hit Nat Moore, and now Yepremian will attempt the extra point. The lines are down. Waiting for the snap. It's high. The ball is placed. Yepremian's kick is up in the air, and it is good. So there's timeout on the field. Score now, Dolphins 7, Bengals 3.
Some people wonder, why spend money on replacement windows when they already have good windows in their home? Well, maybe some of these New Sash customer letters will help you understand why. Dear Mr. Johnson, I wondered about spending money on New Sash windows, but my reservations are now gone. My wife thinks they're beautiful and very easy to clean. But the amazing thing is that they keep the thermostat on 65 degrees all winter long, and our furnace only comes on 4 or 5 times a day instead of 10 or 15 times in the past. Thank you. Our New Sash windows are paying for themselves. Well, if fuel savings are important to you this winter, give Bill Johnson a call at 267-8396. New Sash is the only window with a good housekeeping seal of approval, and New Sash replacement windows are custom made for a perfect fit. Call Bill Johnson at 267-8396 and let him show you how to save up to 30% or more in heating costs. That 24-hour number again, 267-8396. Always ask for the original New Sash.
8 plays, 65 yards, not including the fumbled punt by Steve Holden, which set it all up. And the Dolphins have scored with 3 minutes and 3 seconds remaining in the first period to take a 7-3 lead over the Cincinnati Bengals. Mike Michel does the kicking off now. Steve Holden is the deep man with Tony Davis and Jerry Anderson on the flanks. So Steve Holden's fumbled on a punt, sets it up, and the Dolphins go in 2 plays. There, Michel gets the signal. He's the sidewinder, and there's a boot. It's a low-line drive that bounces at the 20, and it'll be picked up by Jerry Anderson at the 15 to the 20. Running laterally, gets to the 25, hit, and will go down at about the 26-yard line. And there was a fumble. I believe the Dolphins are indicating that they have the ball. Let's see. But the officials haven't said yes yet. Apparently they're ruling that the ball is dead. A big huddle of Dolphin and Bengal players around the ball down at the 25-yard line, and they indicate that the Bengals have the ball. So they almost lost it again in dangerous territory. All it may have been either, I believe, from the indication by the Dolphins, they may have recovered it, but the ball was dead. So the Bengals will have it at the 25-yard line. 2 seconds left to play in this first period. McAnally goes left. Brooks comes right. Griffin and Clark are the running backs. The Dolphins play that 3-4. They've got both the outside linebackers up on the line of scrimmage. Anderson fakes and slow draw, gives off to Clark, and he doesn't get anything. Booby Clark on the draw, hit by Bob Matheson, and then plenty of others right there, and got back to about the line of scrimmage, and that was it. Let's pause 15 seconds for station identification. This is the Cincinnati Bengals Football Network.
You're listening to the voice of the Cincinnati Bengals in Central Ohio, WMNI. where you'll hear the best in country music. We are your good neighbor, WMNI in Columbus.
The Dolphin cornerbacks playing about 8 yards off the line of scrimmage. Bengals with a 2nd and 10 at their own 25. Anderson goes back to throw. This time throws out a flat the 30. It's caught by Griffin. He'll get up to about the 33. Griffin coming out in the right flat, caught that ball about 5 yards beyond the line of scrimmage, ran it for about 3 more. Matheson and Bocamper, a couple of linebackers, were over there to knock him down. Spotted up at the 33. It's a gain of 8, and now the Bengals will have a 3rd and about 2. Now Linville Elliott checks in, or Tony Davis checks in. Booby Clark comes out. Griffin comes out. Elliott goes in. So we have Johnson and Elliott in there. McAnally comes out. The Bengals have made a lot of substitutions. Pete Johnson, Tony Davis. Bengals with a 3rd and actually about 1.5. Handoff into the line. Tony Davis fights his way up and gets the first down over the 35. He was hit right at the line of scrimmage, but spun off the tackler. And Tony moved it ahead to the 37 and has the first down. Then about 3-4 men go back in. Mike Cobb was in the block on that short yardage situation. And Griffin and Clark are back in. Davis picked up the first down up at the 37.
Good second effort that time by Tony Davis, and really he runs about as hard as anybody you'll find. He's averaging almost a little better than 5.5 yards a carry.
We're into the final minute of the first quarter. Dolphins lead at 7-3. McAnally and Brooks split on opposite sides. Anderson back to throw. Quick fires out in the flat. Is caught. McAnally out of bounds at the 44. Quick out right side to McAnally. Over on the coverage was Norris Thomas, but he was well back off the line of scrimmage. So that quick out is good for about 7 out to the 44. And the Bengals now have a 2nd and 3. Clock is stopped with 50 seconds remaining in the first quarter as McAnally went out of bounds after making a catch. Bujnak and Shinners are alternating, bringing in the plays. Billy Brooks caught 7 last week, including that one for 94, and that's the longest one in the history of the AFC. Backs are in an eye. Goes to the second man. Griffin cuts in over the left side, vaults his way forward, and Archie leaps the heap to about the 49 and has the first down, getting about 5 yards on the play, going in over the left side behind Glenn Bujnak and Rufus Mays. They're going to spot it between the 48 and the 49, and it is a Bengal first down.
Archie, a very intense and very dedicated young man this afternoon after not starting the last couple of weeks, plus the fact that somebody had started a vicious rumor this last week that Archie had asked to be traded, which was absolutely false. So he feels that he has something to prove, mainly to himself this afternoon.
Clock is running, 15 seconds left in the quarter. Bengals out at their own 49. Handoff again to Griffin. Archie in over the right side to 45 and down to the Dolphin 43 before Bocamper, along with Steve Toll and Tim Foley, the strong safety, can haul him down. And we're down to the end of the first quarter now, and there it is. So that's the end of the quarter. With a score, Dolphins 7, Bengals 3. Change side.
Doing it better is the only way Marathon knows how to do it. And we like doing business with folks who feel the same way. That's why Marathon does business with the guy known as the Marathon Man, your Marathon dealer. Because he does feel exactly the same way. Anybody can pump the gas and check the oil. But giving service and treating folks like something special, well, that takes a whole lot more. And what it takes is a Marathon Man. Get together with your Marathon Man. He aims to do it better, and he will.
We got together to do it better. We're Marathon.
Marathon Oil Company. We got together to do it better, and we did.
Talking with you on the phone, playing a contest or two, and some great music. That's my show. Tuesday night from 6 to midnight. This is Pat Rogers.
This is the voice of the Cincinnati Bengals in Central Ohio, WMNI, where you'll hear Don Bowman counting down the biggest country hits on American Country Countdown after today's game on WMNI, Columbus.
Bengals trail it by a score of 7-3 as we start the second quarter. Archie Griffin is averaging a little better than 9 yards per carry. He's carried 4 times for 37 yards. Booby Clark has carried 5 times for 22 yards, and Kenny Anderson is 3 out of 3 for 35 yards passing. 2 other scores in the first period. The New England Patriots lead the Buffalo Bills 3-0, and in New York, the Browns lead the Giants 7-0.
So as we open up the second quarter, the Bengals have a first down at the Dolphin 43. Brooks and McAnally split on opposite sides. Anderson handoff. Clark in over left tackle. Booby gets about 2 yards before he stopped standing up and then shoved back. Bob Baumauer, the nose tackle, one of the men in the stop, along with Kim Bocamper, the left side linebacker. Before he was shoved back, Clark made it down to the 41 for a pickup of 2, and it becomes 2nd and 8. The Dolphins lead at 7-3. They were set up by the fumble by Steve Holden. A correction, they're bringing in the chains to measure. I'd put down 1st and 10 inadvertently. It was 1st and about 3, and it's going to be, or 2nd and 3. It's going to be just a wee bit short of the first down. And the Bengals put their short yardage team in, including Mike Cobb, the tight end. Tony Davis and Pete Johnson go in, and Clark and Archie Griffin come out. The ball is exactly at the Dolphin 41.5-yard line. It'll be 3rd and 1. So the Dolphins now put 6 men up on the line of scrimmage. Actually, about 7 right up there close. To Anderson on a keeper, fights his way forward, and he's disappeared, but I believe he has the first down. Kenny Anderson on a keeper. Just took the snap and went right straight ahead, got it to the 40-yard line, and it is a first down. So the Bengals keep it alive. They started back at their own 26-yard line, and have moved it now down to the Dolphin 40 and have the first down. So the Bengals make the substitutions, go back to Griffin and Clark in the backfield. Brooks goes out to the right. McAnally comes left. The Dolphin cornerbacks all afternoon have been about 8 yards off that line of scrimmage, and they are again now. Anderson fakes, goes back to throw. Now he's going to run. Comes up to the 40, hit from behind, and gets to about the 33-yard line. Steve Towle hit him from head on. He was in the grasp of Bob Baumauer, the nose tackle. Steve Toll rammed a shoulder in him. Flag was thrown. I believe it is going to cost the Dolphins perhaps 15 yards. Steve Toll hit Anderson as he was falling. They said he was on the ground. It'll be a late hit, a personal foul, and it'll move the ball 15 yards all the way down to the Dolphin 18-yard line.
Good call to the officials because it definitely was a late hit. And a spearing type hit.
So the late hit by Steve Toll, the linebacker, cost the Dolphins 15. And the Bengals will have a first down at the 18-yard line. He was in the grasp of Baumauer and it fell when Toll, coming in exactly the opposite direction, rammed his head and shoulder into Anderson as he was on the ground, and it cost him 15. McAnally near side, Brooks far side. Big split between Clark and Griffin behind Anderson. Handoff, Booby in over right tackle. Doesn't get much of anything. Manages to wiggle his way ahead for perhaps a yard and a half, yard or two. Steve Towle and Baumauer, the rookie from Alabama, combined to make the stop. This Dolphin defense is young. They have 5 rookies or first-year men on it. Up front, both Baumauer and Dewey are rookies. Bo Camper, one of the linebackers, is a first-year man. Vern Robertson and Norris Thomas, 2 of the defensive backs, also first-year men. They put it down at the 17. It'll be 2nd and 9.
The Miami defense very tough last week. Gave up only 71 yards rushing to the New England Patriots.
Trumpy switches sides left to right. It's not that he lines up on the wrong side. They do that on purpose. Anderson fake, dumps it over the line, incomplete. The pass was too high to Griffin. Just a little dump over the line in the left flat, and Anderson disgusted with himself. Griffin reached up high, and it's fortunate there were a couple of Dolphins around there, but no one intercepted it because there'd have been nobody back there. So it comes to the 17 now and becomes 3rd and 9. Dolphins primarily a zone club. Usually when you get inside the 20, though, almost everybody goes man-to-man. Except the Minnesota Vikings last week. They play it about all the way down to the 10-yard line. Hasn't been a pass thrown in Billy Brooks' direction yet. Brooks over the right side. On the near side is McAnally. The back's in a wide split. Anderson on a keeper right down to the 15, to the 10, to the 5. Touchdown! Kenny Anderson on a keeper. They really split the middle of the line, and Anderson ran 17 yards for a touchdown. Big blocking by Bob Johnson and Dave Lapham in the middle, and the rush really came from the outside, and the Bengals really caught him napping with that call. Anderson 17 yards on a keeper, and the Bengals go out in front by a score of 9-7.
Kenny Anderson just tiptoeing his way all the way through there, picking his steps very carefully. That hole opened up, and you could have taken half of this stadium right straight through it.
So Bauer will attempt the extra point. Marvin Cobb will hold. Ball is placed down. The kick is away, and it is good. So there's timeout on the field. With the score now, Bengals 10, Dolphins 7.
The watchword in computers today is flexibility. Interactive Information Systems, commonly known as IIS, offers companies, corporations, and government agencies expertise and flexibility in computer systems. IIS offers you the capabilities from fixed-cost time sharing to your own deck computer. IIS has innovative systems for distributors and manufacturers that increase productivity and save time and money.
Let IIS assist you in solving business problems by analyzing your existing management methods and procedures. After careful study, IIS will design a fully operational and people-oriented program to fit your company. IIS offers computer solutions for business. In Central Ohio, call 224-0380. Interactive Information Systems, 370 South 5th Street, Columbus. IIS.
Scored running. It puts the Bengals out on top 10-7. The Bengals traveled 74 yards in 12 plays, and with a 3rd and 9 at the 17, what appeared to be a passing down, the Bengals completely surprised the Miami Dolphins. Anderson keeping the ball on a play that it was called that way, and he went 17 yards for the touchdown. So the Bengals, who have had trouble getting the ball in the end zone, do it. As Barr advances on the ball, there's the kick. It's Anderson and Davis over the far side. It'll be taken by Davis at the 10. Up to the 15, to the 20, to the 25, comes to the 30. On the near side of the 35, slips and goes down. Will be pinned down at the 37. Gary Davis ran off to the left, then cut all the way back across the field, and Willie Shelby finally pinned him down at about the 33-yard line. Mike Wells, who is the third-string quarterback, is playing on the kickoff and kickoff return teams for the Bengals. Mike was saying during the week, of course, it's a rarity having a quarterback on special teams. But he's 6'4" and about 230. And big enough to do the job. The ball is at the Dolphin 38-yard line, so it's a 28-yard return. Benny Malone is now in at halfback. Harris is the other running back. The flanker right. A quick pitch is Benny Malone around the left side. Malone gets up to the 40 to the 42. Gains about 4 on the play before he is pulled down by Bo Harris, the left side linebacker, and along with Mel Morgan, the cornerback on that side. So Benny Malone making his first appearance of the afternoon. You know, it's an odd thing about Malone. He has been their leading rusher. But coming in these last few games, he has picked up like 18, 5, and 5, and has been fumbling the ball and has been relegated to the bench. So it's a gain of about 5, and it'll be a 2nd and 5 now for the Dolphins out at their own 43. They line up tight with the flanker only about a yard wide to the left. They're in an eye again. This time it's Leroy Harris, the first man in the left side, and there is nothing there. He's hit and slammed down by Jim LeClaire right at the line of scrimmage. Tried in over left tackle, and LeClaire plugged that gap right there. Wilson Whitley was also there. And they're going to give him about a yard on the play up to the 44, so now it'll become 3rd and 4. Kenny Johnson is playing left tackle on defense, the first time this year that he has been at a tackle spot. He would have been there last week against Minnesota, except for the fact that he was injured. That was Harris's 8th carry of the afternoon for 45 yards. Bengals lead at 10-7 here in the second quarter. Nat Moore and Duriel Harris split wide on either side. Greasy backed off, but the ball was never snapped, and the Bengals come across, and that'll be an illegal procedure, I believe, against the Miami Dolphins. It is. Greasy backed away, but Jim Langer had not snapped the ball, so it'll cost him 5 back to the 39, and now it'll become 3rd down and about 9 yards to go for the first down. I was talking with Bob Greasy as the Dolphins came on the field this afternoon, Phil. As you know, earlier this season he had some eye problems, and they outfitted him with glasses. And it looks very strange to stand there talking with a quarterback, any football player, who's wearing glasses under that face mask. Almost looks like something from outer space. Yeah, I got some windshield wipers. The Dolphins are going with the 3 wide receivers now. They had Nat Moore in there. Anderson is also in there. So they've got Nat Moore in a backfield spot and 2 wide receivers out on either side. So it's 3rd and 9, Dolphins at their own 39. Now Greasy goes back to throw. Looks, has plenty of time, fires it up the middle. It's caught down at the Bengals' 43-yard line. It was Nat Moore, and trailing right with him to drag him down was Reggie Williams. But a big thing was that Bob Greasy had all the time to throw. Nobody was putting any pressure on him at all. He had time to wait for the break, and then he popped it in for about 19 yards down at the Bengals' 43 and a first down.
Greasy is now 4 out of 6 for the afternoon for an even 50 yards and, of course, 1 touchdown.
Harris goes out to the far side. To the near side comes Moore. Bob Greasy, the quarterback, hands off. Around the left side goes Harris. He's at the 45, down to the 40. He'll be dragged down at about the 38-yard line, running on the far side of the field. May have lost the ball over there. A Bengal dived in late. They wanted a late hit, but they're not getting it. LeClaire was over there on the stop, and he had help from others, but not until there was a gain by Leroy Harris running wide left to about the 37-yard line. They're going to put it down, so it's a 6-yard pickup. And the Dolphins have a 2nd and 4. Bengals lead at 10-7 here, and we have 10 minutes left to play in this first half.
There was good penetration that time by defensive right end Coy Bacon. He came in and just
almost got a hand on the ball carrier. Had he been able to slow him down a little bit, he might have held that to a lesser game, but he almost got him. Fine offensive line for these Dolphins with Current, Moore, Kuchenberg, Little, and Langer. Slot formation to the right. Back behind the line of scrimmage to Nat Moore. Now Nat is looking to pass. Fake comes up to the 40. Down the sidelines. Will be knocked out of bounds at about the 31. A flag is down on the play. Moore backed up about 4 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Took the lateral from Greasy, although, of course, he passed the ball. And then Moore faked as though he wanted to go downfield to Duriel Harris. And a penalty is going to be against the Cincinnati Bengals. So the Dolphins, let's see if they accept the play or take the penalty. He was run out of bounds at the 31, which was enough for the first down. It was against Coy Bacon. And the Dolphins will take the play because they made about 6 yards on it. Down to the 31, it will be a first down. So the Dolphins, who started out at the 38 after taking the kickoff, have moved it now down to the Bengals' 31-yard line and have the first down. Moore goes out to the right. Harris comes left. Andre Tillman is the tight end. He lines up left. The running backs are Gary Davis and Leroy Harris. They have a big split behind Greasy. Now Greasy goes back to throw. Looks, fires upfield, incomplete. Hooking back at the 25-yard line was Gary Davis, the halfback, and the pass was a little bit high, went off his hand, but no Bengal defender could get to it. This harmlessly fell incomplete, and it will be 2nd and 10. The Dolphins at the Bengals' 31-yard line. It stops the clock with 9:40 remaining in the half. Greasy perhaps unloaded that just a little bit before he wanted to that time. The protection was not quite as good as it had been. Both Coy Bacon and Kenny Johnson were there and lowered the boom on Greasy just as he got rid of the ball. Harrison Moore will go in a slot formation now over to the left. And Davis and Harris will take a wide split again behind Greasy. Now Moore comes in motion right side. A handoff on the draw play. Running wide to the right. He'll get very little, down to about the 27. Bo Harris, Wilson Whitley, and a couple of others are over there to knock him down. He did manage to gain about 3 yards perhaps on the play. They're going to put it at the 28-yard line, so it will be a 3-yard pickup, and now it becomes 3rd and 7. And the Dolphins make a couple of substitutions. Andre Tillman goes out. They bring in a new tight end. They bring in 3 wide receivers. All of the lights are on here now at Riverfront Stadium as it is very overcast once again, and the rain continues to fall now a little harder than before. Bulash in the backfield, and they put 3 wide receivers, 2 out to the left, 1 to the right. Go with 3 of them now. And Greasy goes back to throw. The blitz is on. Greasy looking. Now he runs away, still looking. 35, upfield, intercepted. At the 25-yard line, running out of bounds. On the far side of the field is Bo Harris. Bob Greasy that time looking for broken patterns downfield, threw to a receiver down about the 15-yard line, and Bo Harris just cut in front of him and intercepted it and ran it out of bounds on the far side of the field. So interceptions. Want another drive. That's the second one this afternoon that Greasy has had picked off. And there's time out on the field with the score, Bengals 10, Dolphins 7.
See what's new today in a Chevrolet.
Last year, Chevrolet introduced a whole new kind of 6-passenger car, the beautiful new Chevrolet Caprice. And like hot dogs and apple pie, America is eating it up.
Now that's more like it. More like it.
Compared to the 76 full-size Chevrolet, this crisp new kind of Chevy arrives on the scene with more headroom, more rear seat legroom, more trunk room, more corrosion fighters, more ease of maintenance, and more.
More like it. More like it.
With all that going for it, the new Chevrolet quickly became the best-selling car in America. Now entering its 2nd year, it's still one of the newest new cars around. See and drive the car that has America shouting more, the beautiful new Chevrolet Caprice.
Now that's more like it. That's much more like it. The new Chevrolet.
See what's new today in a Chevrolet.
That's the second time Bob Greasy has been intercepted this afternoon. One by Ken Riley. That was Riley's first of the year. This one by Bo Harris, his second of the year. The leader in that category for the Bengals is linebacker Reggie Williams with 3 interceptions. Jim LeClaire has 2. In the second quarter now, Chicago, the Bears leading Minnesota by a score of 7-0. Rain falling hard here at Riverfront Stadium now. There are a lot of empty seats. Well, they filled in pretty well, but there's a few thousand that didn't come this afternoon here in the rain and drizzle at Riverfront. Bengals lead at 10-7. The Bengals took a 3-0 lead
Greasy passed 5 yards to Nat Moore to give the Dolphins a 7-3 lead, and then Kenny Anderson ran 17 yards on a keeper to give the Bengals a 10-7 lead. So the Bengals on Bo Harris's interception have the ball at their own 25. McAnally and Brooks on opposite sides. The backs are in an eye. Anderson gives it to Griffin, a second man. Archie pops in over the left side, moves it out over the 25 to perhaps the 27 or 28-yard line. Griffin tackled by 3-4 Dolphins, including Bob Baumauer, the nose tackle. Give Archie about 2.5 yards on the play. It'll be second down and a long 7.
Bill, of Miami's 13 running plays this afternoon, Harris has run 10 times for a total of 54 of Miami's 70 total yards rushing.
Booby Clark and Archie Griffin again in an eye. McAnally and Brooks on opposite sides. Bengals out at their own 28 with second and about 7.5. Anderson gives it off to Griffin. Archie cuts in the left side, and there isn't much of a hole there. He got back just about to the line of scrimmage, and that is all. A.J. Dewey, Bob Matheson, a number of others. A flag is thrown on the far side of the field. So let's see what it's going to be. Apparently going to be against the Bengals. They're moving backwards. Well, we haven't had a signal yet from referee Pat Haggerty. It is a personal foul. Knocked down on the far side of the field was Norris Thomas, Billy Brooks. They've run into him over there, but it's going to cost the Bengals half the distance to the goal line. John McDaniel has gone in now to replace Pat McAnally. Rain really coming down hard here at Riverfront now. Umbrellas all over the place. Half the distance to the goal line. We'll move it back to the 13.5-yard line as Pat Haggerty counts 1, 2, 3 and finds out where to put the ball out from the 10. Now it'll become second down. Brooks leveled Norris Thomas over there. At least Thomas was down in front of the Dolphins bench. So it'll be second down and just over 20 to go. The Bengals back at their own 14-yard line. And it's raining harder now than it's rained all day. Bengals lead at 10-7. Brooks right side. Left side comes McDaniel. Backs in an eye with Griffin, the deep man. Booby Clark, the short man. Hand off to Archie up the middle. Wiggles his way up over the 15 to perhaps the 17 or 18-yard line. A lot of Dolphins, including Bo Camper and Dewey and Matheson, gather around him there and combine to haul him down, but Archie moves it out for about 3.5 or 4 yards. And at the 18-yard line, it'll be third down now, and still about 15 yards to go for the first down. Dick Anderson is in at safety now for the Miami Dolphins. He has replaced Tim Foley. Of course, Anderson and Jake Scott, safeties on that team. Pass set out the right is to Clark. Booby comes out the 15 to the 20, the 25, and goes down hard at the 29-yard line. Little swing pass out to the right, and Clark got up a good head of steam. Or Dick Anderson came up to knock him down. It's short of what was needed for the first down by about 5 or 6 yards, and McAnally will go in to boot it away. Now Dick Anderson drops back as one of the safety men, along with the Freddie Solomon, who has not played because of a hamstring, except on these special teams. So the line of scrimmage, the Bengals' 30-yard line. McAnally set to boot. Snap is high, but McAnally pulls it down. Gets a booing spiral away that Anderson will take and step out of bounds at the 31-yard line. He'll be thrown down by Jerry Anderson right there. He was out of bounds. The Dolphins pointing. They want a foul of some kind, but nothing is called as McAnally punted that one right to the sideline. There's timeout on the field. Score Bengals 10, Dolphins 7.
When you have a family, you just can't do it alone. Praise meets you all. Protects you every day. Praise meets you all. With you all the way. Your partner in protection.
One of the great partnerships of the silver screen was Douglas Fairbanks and Mary Pickford. Their screen partnership blossomed into man and wife. Their home, Pickfair, is still a West Coast tourist attraction. When you need a partner in protection, your Grange agent will be Johnny on the spot. Now is the ideal time to form this partnership. You can protect the precious things you own and those you love, and have a partner when you need help. Call your Grange agent today.
Grange meets you all. With you all the way. Your partner in protection. When you have a family, you just can't do it alone.
It's like the monsoon season in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia here this afternoon. That rain coming down very hard right now. The Bengals lead the ballgame by a score of 10-7. We have 6 minutes and 13 seconds remaining in the second quarter. The Dolphins have taken over following the punt by Pat McAnally. The official still holding onto the football, wrapped in a towel, and he will put it down at the 31-yard line. The Dolphins send Harris and Moore on opposite sides, starting out at their own 31. Bengals lead at 10-7. Greasy gives off into the left side, goes Davis, spins away, and will be dropped at the 35. Hit at about the 33, dropped at about the 35. Let's pause 15 seconds for station identification. This is the Cincinnati Bengals Football Network.
This is the voice of the Cincinnati Bengals in Central Ohio, WMNI. Follow the football action of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, Saturday afternoons here on your sports leader, WMNI, in Columbus.
The Dolphins with a second and long 6, just short of their 35. Harris and Moore on opposite sides. Davis and Harris, the running backs. Greasy gives on a handoff, hole up the middle, comes up to the 40, to the 44-yard line. A big running back, Leroy Harris. Gary Burley finally corralled him down. Marvin Cobb had to come up from the secondary to help out. Bo Harris was also there, but the Dolphins pick up a first down on one run by Davis and one by Harris. They moved it ahead for 13 yards. There was a trap on the left side of the line, and a good-sized hole opened up. And Harris, 220 pounds, ripped his way through. 5:05 left to play in the first half. Back split behind Greasy, wide men on opposite sides of the field. Bengals lead at 10-7. Greasy back to throw. Quick, fires a quick slant, incomplete, down at the 42-yard line, intended for Duriel Harris. The pass was a little bit low and in front of him. Mel Morgan was back there to cover. So was Marvin Cobb. But had the pass been good, he'd have caught it. At the 44, now it becomes second and 10. It stops the clock with 4:55 remaining. The Bengals have a 10-7 lead. Steve Holden's fumble of a punt that was recovered by the Dolphins at the 7-yard line set up their touchdown. The Bengals put together a 76-yard drive with Kenny Anderson going the final 17 on a keeper. The difference in the game right now is Chris Barr's 44-yard field goal. Bengals second, or Dolphins second and 10 at their own 44. Greasy again, straight back to throw. Looks, now he's going to run. Is hit and dropped by Gary Burley at the 39. Gary Burley nailed Greasy as he tried to go up the middle. Everybody was covered. Greasy could not find anyone, and Burley gets the first sack of the afternoon. On the Dolphin quarterback, it's a loss of 5, and now it'll be third down and 15.
Gary Burley playing some excellent defense this afternoon. He has been all over that football field, and he was Johnny on the spot that time to take a hold of Bob Greasy as lightning and thunder begins to show up here at Riverfront Stadium. And now the rain is really coming down.
Well, we may have another Oakland-Houston afternoon here this afternoon because it is pouring down and a lot of the crowd beginning to head for the exit. Only one back in behind Greasy. 3 wide receivers. Greasy back to throw. Looking, fires downfield. It's incomplete at the 30-yard line. Good defensive play. Reggie Williams was picking up Nat Moore as he came out of the backfield. And Greasy threw long right down the middle on the post, but he couldn't quite hold on to it. So Mike Michelle will go into punt with 4:18 left in this first half. Now it's the hardest rain that we have had all day. We played 2 games here at Riverfront against Oakland and Houston in the past when this field was just covered with water. And as hard as it's raining right now, it'll be covered with water very, very quickly. The line of scrimmage is the Dolphins 40. Tony Davis is the sole safety back for the Bengals. Now Cobb and Morgan drop off to pick up the wide man. A snap. Michelle gets it away. Hangs up there. Tony Davis signals fair, drops it, and falls on it himself at the 31. So the Bengals are really having trouble holding on to that football, but fortunately Tony Davis recovered his own fumble that time, and the Bengals will start out at the 31. Now, just as quickly as that heavy rain started, it has let up a little bit. Not raining as hard, but still coming down fairly hard, and the water on this near side of the field now is beginning to congregate on the field. There's a good puddle down at the Dolphins 40 that strings right across midfield down to the Bengals 40 and all the way down to about 30 where the water is really collecting. So with 4:10 left, the Bengals will take over at their own 31. It was that fumbled punt by Holden that set up their only touchdown. The backs are offset to Anderson's left. Handoff. Archie skitters his way up through the line, and Archie gets to about the 35 as he wheeled in through the right side of the line. Bob Matheson, number 53, and the man who made famous that old 53 defense that the Dolphins used in their Super Bowl days, the man who made the stop. Bushnach comes out. Shinners goes in with a play. There was a gain of about 4 yards on the play out to the 35, and it will be second down and 6. Bengals lead it 10-7, 3:40 time remaining.
Matheson's one of those talented linebackers they'll be talking about years to come. 11-year veteran, 6'4", 235 out of Duke.
Bengals tight left, Brooks split out to the right. Anderson hands off.
In over the left side goes Booby Clark, and there wasn't much there on that one. May have made a couple of yards. Booby tried to move that ball right straight ahead, and there were a lot of Dolphins there to meet him, including A.J. Dewey, the right end, the rookie from LSU. Dewey blocked a punt last week against New England that set up a Dolphin touchdown. Very interesting. Dewey blocked 3 punts in a high school all-star game in Louisiana, and that enabled him to get his scholarship to LSU. He was given it on the basis of those 3, and he blocked one last week. Out at the 37 now, the Bengals have a 3rd and 4. McAnally and Brooks split on opposite sides. The blitz is on. Anderson throws out. Is caught by Trumpy. He'll be run out of bounds at the 38. It's short of the first down. Trumpy coming out of the backfield was covered over there very tightly by a linebacker, Kim Bocamper. And Trumpy is about 1.5 yards short of the first down as he makes his first reception of the afternoon. Now McAnally will have to go in and boot it away. The blitz was on. So Freddie Solomon will be the deep man. Davis and Dick Anderson will be the shallow men. And McAnally has punted twice, 39 and 44. 2:48 is the time remaining. Freddie Solomon is their leading punt return man. Long time taking on a snap. It's back to McAnally. He gets a wobbly punt away that will bounce at the 30, go down to the 20-yard line, bounce to about the 18, and the Bengals will down it there at the 18-yard line. So McAnally punted it over the head of the safety man on the far side. Solomon couldn't get over, too, and he got a pretty good bounce. So it was a 44-yard boot, and the Dolphins, with 2:37 left, will be starting at their 19-yard line. Bengals lead at 10-7. Now that rain is almost non-existent. For about 45 seconds to a minute there a while back, it really came down almost so hard you could almost flat out the far side of the stadium. Now it has let up, and some of the fans who had left are returning to their seats. The Dolphins last year, for the first time in Don Shula's tenure, failed to win 10 games. They were an injury-racked crew last year. Moore and Harris on opposite sides. The running backs are Harris and Davis. Greasy goes back to throw. Fires it out on the flat at the 10-yard line. Out to the 15-yard line. Dragged down will be Harris at about the 19. Leroy Harris took it out. Right over with him to nail him was Bo Harris. So they meet again. A little swing pass out on the right flat to Leroy. Gained only, well, he just about got it back to the line of scrimmage, and that was all. In fact, he actually lost about 1 yard on the play as they put it down at the 18, and it'll be 2nd and 11. And the Dolphins will probably not get another playoff before we get to the 2-minute warning. As they come up to the line of scrimmage, they are going to be out of time. And there is the whistle. 2-minute time. There's timeout on the field. Score, Bengals 10, Dolphins 7.
Sometimes the golden times will laughter comes on strong. When friends close together, just one feel alone. For all those golden times, there's the golden sea. All the way with 14K, that's beautiful beer. It's happy Hewdy time. It's happy Hewdy time. And we're happy to have some right here. It's happy Hewdy time. Hey, have a beautiful beer. It's happy Hewdy time. It's happy Hewdy time. And we're happy to have some right here. It's happy Hewdy time. Hey, have a beautiful beer.
The pride of Cincinnati's great brewing tradition. Beautiful Brewing Company, Cincinnati, Ohio.
With 2 minutes remaining in the first half at rain-soaked Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati, the Cincinnati Bengals lead the Miami Dolphins by a score of 10-7. When time is back in, the Dolphins will have the ball. 2nd down, 11 yards to go at their 18. On their first down play, the pass to Leroy Harris was thrown back for a loss by 1 yard by Bo Harris. And now Greasy, who has been on the sideline talking with head coach Don Shula, returns to the Miami huddle, and we'll see what the Dolphins have planned here for the final 120 seconds.
We've only seen Norm Bulash in a couple of plays. Of course, back in the 1970 playoffs when he was with Baltimore, he ripped the Bengals good for about 116 yards in that playoff game, but limited in action by a hamstring pull. The Dolphins ready to go. Greasy hands off into the line. Davis, he is hit, but still falls forward to the 20, up to about the 24-yard line. He was hit behind the line of scrimmage and tripped up by Wilson Whitley, but he couldn't be knocked down, and he fell forward and skidded up to about the 24-yard line. So he gets 6 on the play, and now the Dolphins will look at a 3rd and 5. Clock is running. 1:42 is the time, but now the Bengals have called a timeout to stop it right at that 1:42 mark. We see the Giants have tied up the Browns 7-7 in the second quarter. New England playing Buffalo again, and New England has 4 losses now, and they're just about out of this thing with one more loss over in that Eastern Division. And Buffalo is one of the teams that knocked them off at Foxborough, and they're playing the return match back in Buffalo today.
Would you believe that in the second quarter, the Chicago Bears are leading the Minnesota Vikings 10-0?
That's right. Without Tarkenton, the Bears were favorites in the ball game. So we have the Bengals calling a timeout here because if they can stop the Dolphins and force them to punt, the Bengals can get the ball back with some time left. Jim LeClaire again comes over to consult on the sideline. I talked with Don Shula Thursday afternoon, and he was saying at the beginning of the year he just didn't know which way to go with this Dolphin ball club because of all the injuries they had last year and all the uncertainties. They lost Reese and Crowder, who are in jail for a year because of that drug charge. But just before they lost them, they had drafted Baumauer and Dewey. They've got Stanfill and Manny Fernandez, who are hurt, and their careers probably are over. The defense has been remolded. 5 rookies are first-year men on it. And they've been getting better and better each week. Now a big play for the Bengals and Dolphins here. The rain has stopped, and the Dolphins have 3rd and 5 at their own 24. A split behind Greasy, and Greasy goes straight back to throw. Looks, going long down the field. Incomplete, and a flag is going to be thrown. Pass interference is going to be called against Mel Morgan. He had the back of the jersey. He just spun him around all the way down at the Bengals 40. So the strategy goes awry, and the clock is stopped now with 1:33 left. So the defensive pass interference call against Melvin Morgan. Duriel Harris was the intended receiver, and Morgan had him around the jersey and spun him around, but the ball wasn't there. So it'll be spotted at the Bengals 41-yard line. Greasy was going for broke from 3rd and 5 back at his 24. Morgan had tight coverage on Harris, but was called for interference. The Bengals now dig in at their own 41-yard line with 1:33 left. The Bengals lead it 10-7. Moore goes out to the right. Harris comes to the left. Leroy Harris and Gary Davis are the running backs. A big split. Generally a pass off this type of formation. We'll wait and see. Greasy gives it to Davis. Into the line. Down to the 35, to the 33 and 31-yard line goes Gary Davis, the rookie. And now the Dolphins will call a timeout. Bo Harris finally in there to make the primary stop, with Mel Morgan helping out Jim LeClaire also. But they ripped up about 9 or 10 yards on that play all the way down to the 31. Greasy extended a timeout to stop the clock here with 1:26 left. It is just a wee bit short of a first down. It'll be second and perhaps inches or a foot to go.
Davis was averaging less than 3 yards a carry coming into this afternoon's ball game, but he's been eating up big chunks of yardage here this afternoon. Update on the scores now. Tampa Bay leading the Detroit Lions 7-0 in the second quarter. Tampa Bay 0-9 this season, 0-23 over a 2-year period, closing in on that record of 29 straight losses set by the Chicago Cardinals between 1942 and 1945. Also in the first quarter, the New York Jets lead Baltimore by a score of 3-0. Following today's game, the Bengals are back home again next Sunday against the New York Giants. 2 weeks from today, we'll be in Kansas City to face the Chiefs. Then that Saturday game back home here with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then we wind it up at Houston the final week of the season.
So now, Norm Bulash has come into the backfield for the Miami Dolphins. Greasy has been over to consult with Don Shula and the coaches on the far side. So they'll have Gary Davis and Bulash in the backfield. The Dolphins have a second down and less than a yard to go at the Bengals 31. The rain has stopped. The umbrellas have been put away here in Riverfront, but the forecast was for showers throughout the afternoon. But we had a dandy that lasted for like maybe 3 or 4 minutes. Moore and Harris split on opposite sides. Bob Greasy, the Dolphin quarterback, goes back to throw on his 2nd and 1. Looks, fires downfield. A slip incomplete down at the 10-yard line. Intended for Nat Moore, who slipped as he did a turn down at about the 10. Riley was back there covering him. So they throw on the 2nd and short 1 situation, 2nd and short yardage situation. Now they'll have 3rd down and about those 2 feet to go. Now Don Nottingham checks in and Norm Bulash checks out of the Miami backfield. And the Dolphins have a 3rd down and those inches or a foot or so to go at the Bengal 31. The incompleted pass stopped the clock at 1:20. Both teams have 2 timeouts remaining. The long pass interference call against Mel Morgan set the Dolphins up in possible scoring territory. Moore and Harris on opposite sides now. It's Nottingham into the middle. Nottingham has the first down as he gets inside the 30 to maybe the 29 or 28 before he's stopped by a number of Bengals over there. And now the Dolphins will call a timeout again. They have the first down inside the Bengals 30. And they have one timeout remaining as Bob Greasy goes over the sidelines again to talk with Don Shula. Because of the Bengals wandering around, we can't quite see where the ball is. In fact, it hasn't been put down. The official holding it and wiping it off. It is just inside the 30. We'll call it the 29, and the Dolphins will have the first down there. They'll have one timeout remaining and 1 minute and 12 seconds left to play in this first half. The Bengals have a 10-7 lead.
Coming into this ball game this afternoon, Cincinnati opponents had a combined one-loss record of 42-39. The Bengals had played 5 teams with winning records, Cleveland twice, Pittsburgh, Denver, and Minnesota, while Miami opponents had a combined one-loss record of only 34 victories and 47 losses. And Miami has played only 2 teams with winning records, Baltimore and New England. Clock is stopped with 1 minute and 12 seconds remaining. First half, the Bengals with 3 points in the first period, 7 in the second. Miami with 7 points in the first period. Their touchdown set up when Steve Holden fumbled a punt, and the Dolphins recovered inside the Bengals' 10-yard line, and in 2 plays, they went in for the touchdown. The Steelers play Dallas later on this afternoon. The Bengals need help again with 5 losses. The Browns and the Steelers have both lost 4. But certainly the Bengals cannot afford to lose another game. They're going to have to win everything that's left to have any chance. First and 10 at the 29. Moore and Harris on opposite sides. They've got the regular running backs. Greasy back in to throw. Looking. Now he's going to be chased and hit and dragged down way back at the 44-yard line. Gary Burley gets his second sack of the afternoon. Then Coy Bacon was in there to help him out. Duriel Harris had gone all the way down into the end zone, but Greasy never had an opportunity to get the ball to him, and that play is a loss of 15 yards as Burley gets his second sack on Greasy this afternoon. It was Burley who hit Fran Tarkenton last week on the play that he broke his ankle, and Burley, of course, sent that telegram to him saying how sore he was. The Dolphins are going to go without any huddle. Greasy goes back to throw. This time he looks, fires down the middle, intercepted. Mel Morgan, 25-30, 35-40, 45 at midfield, loses the ball, and who has it? A Dolphin territory at the 47. The Bengals have it. I believe I said Mel Morgan. It was Marvin Cobb who picked that pass off very, very low, right about the shoe tops, down at the 15-yard line. The third interception on Greasy this afternoon. And Marvin Cobb ran it all the way back to the Dolphins' 47-yard line, where he apparently lost it on the far side of the field, but the Bengals recovered it. And now the Bengals have 49 seconds left to do something about it. Tony Davis and Willie Shelby are in the Bengals' backfield now. The Bengals have 2 timeouts remaining, 49 seconds left. Brooks and McAnally split on opposite sides. Anderson back to throw. There's no blitz. Looking, fires upfield, knocked down by a linebacker. Knocked down by Bob Mathis on the 39-yard line. It was intended for Elliott. It goes incomplete, and now it'll be 2nd and 10 at the 47. The clock has stopped, 45 seconds left. So 3 times this afternoon, the Dolphins have been thwarted while down in Bengal territory by interceptions. The first by Kenny Riley. The second one was picked off by Bo Harris, and this one by Marvin Cobb. Matheson that time made an effort to do just what Cobb had done a moment before, and that's pick one off his shoe tops. He had a hand on it, but was diving for it and couldn't pull it in. The Bengals would like to get down far enough, of course, to at least get a field goal here. The cornerback's about 8 yards back. Into the line, running Tony Davis. He's down inside the 40 to about the 39-yard line. Tony Davis on that trap draw up the middle. Gains 8, and at the 39, it'll be 3rd and 2. The Bengals will go without benefit of huddle, and now a timeout is being called by the officials. Nope, they tag it on the Bengals. So the Bengals call the timeout at the 39, and now the Bengals will also have 1 timeout remaining. I thought the officials had called time momentarily while they toweled off the football, but they did not. The Bengals are assessed with 1, so the Bengals go back to talk it over. They were going to go without a huddle, but something was mixed up, so they decided to expend one of the timeouts, and now they also have just 1 remaining. Following today's games, and we told you the remainder of the schedule for Cincinnati. Houston, following today's game at Seattle, plays 3 games at home and 1 on the road. They face Kansas City, Denver, and Cincinnati at home. They play at Cleveland. The Cleveland Browns, as I said, are facing the Giants today in New York. They have 2 and 2 left following that game today. They're at home against Los Angeles and Houston. They played 2 of them on the road at San Diego and Seattle. Pittsburgh, following today's game with Dallas, has 3 games away from home and 1 at home. They play at New York against the Jets. They play here in Cincinnati and at San Diego, and they face the Seahawks at home of Seattle, and those are their 4 games remaining. So now the Bengals set to go with a
Third down and about 2. Anderson back to throw. It's a quick out. Incomplete. Intended for Brooks, but the pass was behind him at the 35-yard line, and that stops the clock now with 28 seconds remaining. And the Bengals have a 4th down coming up. It'll be 4th down and about 2.5 yards to go for the first down. Bengals trying to decide what they want to do. McAnally is in the booth. The crowd doesn't like it, but it's ridiculous to go for a field goal attempt because it would be about 57 yards. So with 28 seconds left, they will boot it. Dick Anderson drops back as the sole safety for the Dolphins. McAnally has punted 3 times, 39 and 44 yards. Anderson was lined up all the way over this side of the field. Now the Bengals, a flag goes down, and the Bengals are going to be assessed 5 yards for delay of game, and nothing ran off the clock. Of course, on the change of units, the clock does not start until the ball is snapped. Dick Anderson is the only man back. There's a snap back to McAnally. Boots it away. It will land at about the 5-yard line and will not go into the end zone. It goes out of bounds at the 4. Oh, McAnally gets a 41-yard boot that goes out of bounds at the 4, and with 18 seconds left, the Dolphins will take over there. So, barring something unexpected, the Bengals will walk off with a 10-7 halftime lead. And the Dolphins' only touchdown set up by a fumble on a punt by Steve Holden that the Dolphins recovered at the 7-yard line. And Bengal interceptions, 3 of them, have shut off other possible Dolphin drives. Bob Greasy, coming into the ball game this afternoon, had only been intercepted 6 times, and he has had 3 of them picked off here. Greasy, the leading passer in the AFC, and second in the NFL behind Roger Staubach. Bengals into their 3-4 defense now. Everybody jammed in tightly. The back's only a couple of yards behind Greasy, and Greasy is just going to flop on it. Not taking a chance with a slippery field and a wet ball down right in the shadow of their own goal. And they will let the time run out now. The Bengals could stop it for one play, but it wouldn't do any good. They just flop on it again. So both teams leave the field, and this first half now has come to an end, and we'll be back with more after this timeout.
Over the last 25 years, computers have transcended from science fiction conjecture to reality. It's truly amazing the advances that have been made in computer technology. Solutions to business problems by computer systems have increased productivity in sales, manufacturing, distribution, and accounting. Interactive Information Systems, more commonly known as IIS, is a computer systems company that has developed people-oriented packages, giving companies and corporations throughout America that competitive edge. IIS offers innovative systems in database management, inventory management, and material requirements planning. For computer solutions for your business, call IIS. In Central Ohio, call 224-0380. Interactive Information Systems, 370 South 5th Street, Columbus. IIS.
Sam back at Riverfront Stadium along with Jimmy Crum, where we're at halftime here, and they're putting the tapes out on the field for the pass, punt, and kick contest. The Bengals, of course, hold this 10-7 lead. So Jimmy Crum will be along to talk about the first half in a moment. Our score here at halftime, the Bengals 10, the Dolphins 7. And the crowd begins to scramble for cover, and the umbrellas go up. McAnally and Brooks are the wide receivers. Clark and Griffin are the running backs. Bengals 2nd and 8 at their own 25. Wide split behind Anderson. Kenny goes straight back to throw. Looks, fires it over to Booby. Can't hold on to it at the 20-yard line. A pass was a little high. Clark got his fingertips on the ball. Had he held on to it, it wouldn't have been much of a gain because he was well covered. The official statistics show Anderson 6 for 7 in the first half. That doesn't agree with our figures. He missed more than one pass, but that's what we'll have to go by because that's official. So Shinders comes out. Bujnak goes in. The Bengals now at their own 25 have a 3rd and 8. Bengals lead at 10-7. The opening minute here of this third quarter. Brooks to the right. McAnally to the left. Cornerbacks 8 yards off the line of scrimmage. Anderson goes back to throw. Looks. Fires down along the sidelines. Brooks catches it. But he was out of bounds, they say, at the 46-yard line. And Brooks, who ran all the way over to the stands, slams the ball down unhappily Caught it out of bounds, so it's incomplete, and McAnally will have to go in to boot it away. Brooks tried desperately to get that second foot in bounds. Way over on the far side of the field in front of the Dolphins bench. It was a deep out, but McAnally goes in now. Freddie Solomon will be the deep man, the only safety back for the Miami Dolphins.
Tough break for the Bengals, and a tough even for Billy Brooks. Tougher even for Brooks because he made a nice stab to get that one up in the air, but just could not bring that trailing foot down and drag it inbounds.
And McAnally has the best net punting average in the AFC, exceeded by only 2 men in the NFC, although Ray Guy's average is about 4 more yards per game. There's a snap back. McAnally gets a high floater away that Freddie Solomon goes over and catches at the 40 and is knocked down right at the 42. A fumble, and the Bengals have it. Leave John McDaniel. I'll tell you, Booby Clark hurt his ribs, but he's the guy that created the fumble. As Clark went down and really belted Dick Anderson, he coughed up the ball, and John McDaniel fell on it for the Bengals over at about the 42-yard line. So the Dolphins fumble the ball, and Booby Clark was holding his ribs and his arm as he came off. He really jarred Freddie Solomon, and John McDaniel flopped on it, and the Bengals have the ball at the Dolphins' 42. And Pete Johnson has gone in at fullback now, replacing Clark. So the Bengals get a break. Created by Clark. McAnally and split on opposite sides. Handoff into the line. Archie picks his way through, gets down to about the 38-yard line. Wiggles in through the right side. Bob Baumauer, along with Matheson, finally made the tackle on it, but Griffin, moving those feet quickly, wiggled in through that line, managed to get about 4 yards on the play down to the 38, and the Bengals will have a 2nd and 6.
Booby Clark continues to hold his left arm and his rib cage on that left side as he walks up and down in front of the Cincinnati bench. He, in hitting Solomon, gave himself a good shot.
Brooks near side, McAnally far side. The Bengals are at the Dolphins' 38. Handoff back against the flow. Pete Johnson in over the 35 to about the 33. The flow went left. Pete Johnson on a misdirection play cut in behind it. Moved the ball down to the 33. Steve Toll, the leading tackler on this Dolphin team, made the stop. Toll averaged 15.5 tackles a game last year. The all-time Dolphin high, and he broke his old record. Mike Cobb goes in as the Bengals go to 2 tight ends now on the 3rd and 1 situation, and Tony Davis and Pete Johnson are the running backs. The ball is at the Dolphins' 33, 3rd and 1. Dolphins have 8 men up on the line of scrimmage. It's Pete Johnson bursting through inside the 30 to the 28, in over left tackle. And he has the first down, gaining about 4 or 5 yards on the play. So now McAnally goes back in, and Booby Clark is right back in to replace Davis. And the Bengals moving, have the ball down inside the 30 at the Dolphins' 28-yard line.
In the first quarter now, Baltimore leads the New York Jets 6-3, and that Chicago-Minnesota game is now in the 3rd quarter. The Bears still leading the Vikings 10-7.
The Bengals at the...
Today's episode is brought to you by ThisDayInTheNFL.com. Celebrating football's greatest moments, one day at a time. Listen to classic broadcasts, explore historic games, and keep the legacy of the NFL alive at ThisDayInTheNFL.com.
Dolphins 28. Brooks near side, McAnally far side. Anderson gives the ball in. Clark in over right tackle. Booby fights his way in for a couple of yards, and then he's shoved back. He may have got down as far as the 25 before he was shoved back by 3 or 4 Dolphins. Down the bottom of the stack, number 83, Vern Den Herder, number 73, Bob Baumauer. The ball is just shy of the 25, so give Clark 3. Make it 2nd and 7. Bengals lead at 10-7. We have 11:35 left here in this 3rd quarter. The Giants and Browns were tied 7-7 at the end of the half. David Mays, of course, playing quarterback in place of the injured Brian Sight. Now coming in motion is Griffin over the near side, and Anderson goes back to throw. Looks, fires over the middle. It's deflected, incomplete. McAnally was shoved, and a flag is thrown down at the 15-yard line. Larry Gordon and Vern Roberson were back there. Let's see if it's against McAnally, though. It's a possibility. The ball was tipped, so there is no pass interference. The ball actually wound up after being tipped at the line of scrimmage behind McAnally, and there was no chance of an interception, no chance of a reception. So at the 25-yard line, it becomes 3rd and 7. Now John Chinners checks in with a play. Number 44, Charles Cornelius, comes in as the Dolphins go to 5 defensive backs. Now Trumpy comes out, John McDaniel goes in. The Bengals go to 3 wide receivers. They have 3rd and about 7.5 at the Dolphin 26-yard line. Anderson goes back to throw, looks, fires down into the end zone. McAnally can't quite get it. Right at his fingertips, covered down there by Tim Foley. McAnally reaching out and making a semi-dive just short of the end line. Back in the end zone, and a ball was thrown just about a foot or two too far. So it'll bring up a fourth down situation, and Chris Barr, who has hit a 44-yard field goal, will attempt one now from about 43 yards. Anderson is 0 for 4 this half. The rain right at the moment is falling very lightly. So Barr, who is 1 for 1, 10 for 16 on the year, will try one from 43. It's placed down. The kick is up in the air, and it is good. Barr hit from 43 yards out. So there's timeout on the field with the score now, Bengals 13, Dolphins 7.
Miami came into the game this afternoon just one game behind Baltimore in the Eastern Division of the AFC. Baltimore with an 8-1 record. Miami 7-2. Miami trying to stay alive in that Eastern Division, catch up with Baltimore, at least perhaps be the wild card team in the playoffs. The Bengals right now lead it by a score of 13-7. We have 11:06 remaining here in the third quarter at Riverfront Stadium.
Gary Davis and Terry Anderson are the deep men. Barr kicks off. It'll be high, not too long. Taken by Davis at the 8. Follows his wedge up to the 15, to the 20, to the 25, and hit and will go down at about the 32. So a return of about 22 yards by Gary Davis. Jim Corbett in on the stop along with Glenn Cameron, and the Dolphins will take over at that point at their own 32. So Dick Anderson's, or rather Freddie Solomon's, let's make it Anderson, fumble on that punt, recovered by John McDaniel, resulted in an eventual Bengal field goal. The Dolphins start out at their own 31. The backs are in and I. They have Davis and Leroy Harris. They bring Nat Moore over to flanker on the right side. Now a quick pitch around the side comes Harris. He cuts in, gets to the 35, and will hit there and go down hard. Casanova, along with Jerry Anderson, who's in at the safety spot, dragged him down. Marvin Cobb also coming up to make the stop. Marvin Cobb is out, and Jerry Anderson has replaced him at free safety. The ball is at the 36-yard line, so Harris made 5, and now it'll be 2nd and 5. The Bengals lead it 13-7. As Barrs just kicked a 43-yard field goal. Nat Moore flanked to the right, in tight. Off to the left is Duriel Harris. Gary Davis, Lloyd Harris. Harris again into the right side, and he spins around and gets to the 39-yard line. Into the Bengals' right side, his own left. A lot of Bengals there to greet him. Reggie Williams in on the stop, along with 2 or 3 other Bengals, Jim LeClaire, and it'll put it down right at the 39-yard line. It'll bring up a 3rd down and 2.
Harris in the first half carried 11 times, 63 yards, almost a 6-yard average, 5.7 actually. His longest gain was 12. In the second quarter now, the Denver Broncos lead the Kansas City Chiefs 7-0.
The crowd spurring on this Bengals defensive unit. Nat Moore goes off to flanker to the left. It's 3rd down and about 2 at the 39. Hand off on an end around is Nat Moore. Mel Morgan can't get him. He's up to the 40. Jerry Anderson misses him, and Casanova will knock him out of bounds way down at about the Bengals' 35-yard line. Nat Moore and Casanova get into it down there. They push and shove each other a little bit. While Casanova was down, Nat Moore got in a pretty good blow. But they pulled him apart. Nat Moore on the end around, and Mel Morgan sucked to the inside. And now Wayne Moore is limping off the field, their left tackle on the far side of the field. So the Dolphins get the ball down, all the way down to about the 32-yard line before Nat Moore on that end around is run out of bounds. Jerry Anderson missed the tackle on him, and Casanova, they're going to say he stepped out of bounds back at the 37. So Wayne Moore is going to be replaced at left tackle by Steve Young. The Dolphins have the first down at the Bengal 37. Bengals lead at 13-7, 9:28 left in the third quarter. Right now, again, the rain has stopped. It's just been raining off and on all afternoon. Backs are in and I. Davis the deep man, Harris the short man. Wide receivers on both sides. Greasy gives it off to a short man, breaks through to the 35, down to the 30, and all the way to the 28 before Bo Harris and Reggie Williams can haul him down. They get that great blocking in the middle from Kuchenberg, Langer, and Little, and they just opened up the Bengals' middle that time. And he rammed through for about 9 yards to the 28, and it will bring up a 2nd down and about 1.
Leroy Harris has been the real workhorse this afternoon for the Miami Dolphins. 11 carries in the first half alone.
Nat Moore goes out to the left. Duriel Harris to the right. 2nd and 1. It's Harris running wide to the right. Now he cuts back against the grain, gets inside the 25 to the 23-yard line. Burley, LeClaire, and 2 or 3 others, Mel Morgan, bring him down, but he made about 5. That's that famous Miami misdirection play where all the flow goes wide right, and Harris cut in behind it and got about 5 yards. That is the play that the Miami Dolphins used so well in the Super Bowl in both their victories, with Zonka, of course, at the helm. Down at the 23-yard line, it's 1st and 10. Nat Moore goes left to the right, Duriel Harris. Backs are offset to Greasy's right. Field slippery, of course, difficult for receivers and defensive men. Back to throw, Greasy fires up the middle. It's knocked down by Reggie Williams. Got a hand on a ball intended for Nat Moore doing a slant down at the 10, but the pass was thrown low, and Reggie Williams got one hand up in the air and knocked it down. I thought a Bengal might have been offside, but he managed to get back. No flag was thrown. So it comes back to the 23-yard line and is 2nd and 10. Bengals lead it 13-7. 8:03 is the time remaining here in the third quarter. Tampa Bay has a 7-0 lead over Detroit, and John McVay, the Giants coach, was saying last week is the most nerve-wracking week he's ever had in football because nobody wants to be the first team to lose to Tampa Bay. Now a wide split behind Greasy. He goes back to throw. A flag is down. A Bengal jumped again, thrown on the flat. Caught by Davis at the 20, at the 15, dragged down at about the 12-yard line. Again, a Bengal came across that line of scrimmage too soon. We'll see if he was drawn. It looks as though it's going to be against Miami. It is. Well, that saved a gain all the way down to the 12, which would have been another first down. We'll have to get the call. It's going to be a 5-yard walk-off. It will take the ball back to the 28-yard line. We'll see who it was. Now, we didn't catch who it was against, but there was an illegal motion. That drew the Bengal offside. So now, Norm Bulash has gone in the backfield. He's there with Gary Davis. They've got another wide receiver, Terry Anderson, in there. So in the backfield, they have Bulash and 3 wide and another wide receiver, Nat Moore. So they're going with the 3. They have a 2nd and 15 at the 29. Greasy back to throw. Sets the screen up to the right. Koivak got a hand on it and knocked it down. Koivak destroyed that screen when he got a hand on a ball on the right side. I'll tell you, a guy really got leveled over there was Nat Moore. He was the intended receiver, and Reggie Williams came over and just lowered the boom on him completely. So it comes back to the 28 and will now be 3rd and 15. Of course, when you try to set up the screen, you let the opposing lineman come through and throw over them, but Bacon got a hand on the ball. Now Glenn Cameron checks into the Bengals lineup. And Wilson Whitley will come out, and the Bengals will go with that 3-4.
Bill, that Tampa Bay-Detroit game is now in the third quarter. Tampa Bay leading Detroit 7-3.
Send Anderson out to the left. Again, they have the 3 wide receivers. Nat Moore lining up in the backfield with Bulash. Bengals have intercepted Greasy 3 times. He's back to throw. Fires down the middle. Is caught. Dropped. It's picked up by the Bengals. Who has it? Jerry Anderson. Was it a fumble or incomplete? They're ruling it an incompleted pass. Nat Moore came out of the backfield and had that ball at the 15-yard line and finally let it get away from him down at the 10. And that was a real break for the Bengals. It looked as though he had it long enough to be called a reception, but they ruled it an incompleted forward pass. So Gero Yepremian will go in for an apparent field goal attempt. Burley is hot about the call. The line of scrimmage is the 28, so it'll be about a 45-yard attempt by Gero Yepremian. And Yepremian has had a bad year. 6 out of 14. He is only 1 out of 7 over 40 yards, and this one will be 43. He's right down near the bottom of the AFC in accuracy. The lines are down. The ball is snapped. It's put down. Yepremian's kick is up. It'll be way short. So the Bengals defense is held. There's a timeout on the field. Score remains Bengals 13, Miami 7.
Remember last winter, with its knife-cutting winds that were so difficult to keep out? Plan right now. Call New Sash, the window experts, 267-8396. The winter of 77 won't be forgotten easily, and this coming winter is forecasted as cruelly cold. New Sash, the original replacement window, features the tilt-in window for easy cleaning. Your New Sash windows will perfectly fit because they're custom-made to stop heat and cold in its tracks. Thermopane Glass adds double insulation. Your monthly fuel bills will be up to 30% lower with New Sash windows, protecting and beautifying your home. BJ Industries is your New Sash distributor. Outside Columbus, call Collect, 614-267-8396. You're the winner with New Sash. You'll save all winter long. Call Bill Johnson right now, 267-8396. New Sash.
Don't miss any of the exciting Bengals action this fall. 7:39 to go in the third quarter. Bengals lead it by a score of 13-7. The Bears lead Minnesota 10-7 in the third quarter. New Orleans leading Atlanta 7-3 in the second quarter. All right, the Bengals take over after the missed field goal at the 28. Elliott has replaced Griffin at halfback for the Bengals. Anderson gives off to Elliott around the right side, running wide, gets to the 30 and about the 32 or 3 and will go out of bounds. The flag is thrown on the play. About a 4 or 5 yard gain by Elliott, but the flag is thrown over on the far side of the field, about 10 yards from inbounds. And Boobie Clark is backing up, so it indicates the Bengals will be called for something over there. It is holding against the Bengals. The costly holding call. It'll take it back. Well, they all are. And it'll be 1st and 20 now back at the 18. The hold was called against somebody as Elliott was running to the right. We'll get the official announcement from Pat Haggerty in a moment. Now the sun is trying to break through here at Riverfront. Bengals lead at 13-7. We're midway through this third period. Pat Haggerty coming over. Holding was against Bob Trumpy, and that's the second time this afternoon that Trumpy has been called for holding. The Bengals now at the 18 have a 1st and 20. The defensive alignment for the Dolphins, same as it was in the first half. Robertson is back in there along with Foley, Thomas, Johnson at the cornerbacks. Elliott comes in motion to the left side. Set up a screen as Boobie Clark grabbing the ball, and Boobie is going to be hit and buried at fumble. Let's see. The Dolphins may have it. They do. The Dolphins have it at the 16-yard line as Clark lost the ball. The last man up, number Bob Baumauer, was the man who got it, and that is a costly fumble and a recovery by the Dolphins. Let's pause 15 seconds for station identification. This is the Cincinnati Bengals Football Network.
You're listening to WLW Cincinnati. This is Chuck Hardy, and I'd like to invite...
This is the voice of the Cincinnati Bengals in Central Ohio, WMNI, where you'll hear Don Bowman counting down the biggest country hits on American Country Countdown after today's game on WMNI, Columbus.
16-yard line after the fumble recovery. They have wide men on both sides. Davis and Harris, the running backs. Greasy back to throw. Looking, fires off in a flat, incomplete off to the left side. Intended over there for Andre Tillman, the tight end, but the pass was short. So it comes back to the 16-yard line. It becomes 2nd and 10. Greasy has not completed a pass here in the second half after going just 5 for 13 in the first half. He's thrown 4 here in the second half, so he is 5 for 17. Clock is stopped with 7 minutes and 22 seconds remaining in the third quarter. 2nd down, 10. The ball at the 16-yard line of the Cincinnati Bengals. Moore goes to the left. Duriel Harris to the right. A wide split behind Greasy. Harris and Davis at the 16-yard line. Greasy goes back to throw. The blitz is on. Throws it out in the flat. Incomplete. Bo Harris got in there blitzing from the left side, but Greasy got the pass away off in the left flat intended for Gary Davis, and he's limping as he comes up. Over to cover him was Jim LeClaire, and he'll be going out of the ballgame now. Norm Bulash will come in to replace him. So at the 16 now, the Dolphins have misconnected twice on passes, and it becomes 3rd and 16 as it gets rather bright here at Riverfront Stadium. It's rained hard a couple of times during the game. The field is slippery. 7:18 left in this third period. The Dolphins have a 3rd and 16 at the Bengals 16. They go with the 3 wide receivers now. Bulash is the only running back. Anderson goes out wide to the left. They have Nat Moore in the backfield. Bulash, the only running back, in behind Greasy. Greasy goes back to throw. Looks, fires into the end zone. Is caught. It'll be a touchdown. Hooking back was Duriel Harris. And he caught it down about the 2-yard line, pulled away from Mel Morgan, and went in for the touchdown that ties this game up. So the fumble by Boobie Clark set it up. And 2 Bengal fumbles this afternoon, one by Holden and one by Clark, have set up touchdowns. And for the first time this afternoon, the Dolphins have the opportunity to go ahead. Harris caught that ball, curling back at about the 2-yard line, and then stepped away. And he kind of pointed his finger at Mel Morgan and say, "There, I got you." That'll earn you a bust in the mouth when you show up a man that you've beaten. Yepremian now will attempt the extra point that'll put the Dolphins out in front. Larry Seipel will hold it. The lines are down. There's the snap back. The ball is placed. The kick is up, and it is good. So there's time out on the field, but a flag is down. Wait a minute. Let's see. Okay, it's against the Bengals. So there's time out on the field. Score, Dolphins 14, Bengals 13.
Sometimes are golden times when laughter comes on strong. When friends are close together, just one beer belongs. For all those golden times, there's a golden beer. Always with 14 cakes, that beautiful beer. It's happy Unity time, it's happy Unity time, and we're happy to have some right here. It's happy Unity time. Hey, have a beautiful beer. It's happy Unity time, it's happy Unity time, and we're happy to have some right here. It's happy Unity time. Hey, have a beautiful beer.
The pride of Cincinnati's great brewing tradition. Beautiful Brewing Company, Cincinnati, Ohio.
Once before this afternoon, the Bengals found themselves behind. That was 7-3 in the first quarter after the fumble by Holden, which Miami recovered at the 7, went in 3 plays for the touchdown. Now the Bengals once again, following a fumble, this one by Boobie Clark, find themselves behind on the pass from Greasy to Harris. See if they can come back and do the same thing this time that they did in the first quarter.
Michelle will kick off, and Holden is the deep man with Anderson and Davis out about the 10. He only takes about a 4-yard advance. The kickoff is from the 40 because of that penalty. And a kickoff backs up Holden to the 2. He comes straight out to the 10, to the 15, to the 20. Gets out to the 25 and will go down at about the 26-yard line. So Steve Holden returns it to the 26, and the Bengals trailing again now with 7:02 left in the third quarter. We'll start out from there. Pete Johnson and Linville Elliott are the running backs now as the Bengals make a change. Boobie Clark and Archie Griffin has started, but Clark fumbled last time to set up that touchdown, so Pete Johnson is in there with Elliott. McAnally and Brooks are the wide receivers. Bengals at their own 26. Now Elliott goes in motion over the right, handoff Pete Johnson around the right side, and Pete plows up to about the 29-yard line, dragging Baumauer along with him for a yard or two. So Pete Johnson will pick up about 3 in the play to the 29. It'll be 2nd and 7. Next Sunday afternoon here at Riverfront, the Bengals take on the New York Giants. As we've said, the Bengals in a position where they just cannot afford to lose another game. They need help from other teams now as is. Brooks to the left, Curtis Johnson over to pick him up. Norris Thomas over on the far side with McAnally. Bengals out at the 30 with a 2nd down and about 6. And off in over the left side, Pete Johnson bowls his way, and he stops standing up after gaining a couple of yards on the play, and that's about all. In the grasp of Gordon and Baumauer. Got the ball up to the 32-yard line. Now they're going to move it up to the 33-yard line. That's what the crowd started to boo about. And it's going to bring up a 3rd down and about 2. Now Mike Cobb checks in. Tony Davis goes in as the Bengals have this short yardage play. Elliott comes out, and so does McAnally.
Now it's very bright here at the stadium all of a sudden, and there are some more patches of blue sky right above the stadium. But there have been a couple of times this afternoon when we've had real downpours.
Bengals are tight on the left side. The Dolphins jammed in shoulder to shoulder. 3rd down and about 2. And off. Pete Johnson tried to wiggle his way up. He stopped just about the 35. Somebody cut his legs out from under him, and I don't think that he made the 1st down. He did not, and the Bengals are going to have to punt. The Dolphins got good penetration. Somebody hit Pete Johnson around the ankles and upended him, and he fell about 2 feet short of the 29-yard line. So Freddie Solomon will be the deep man. He'll drop back with Gary Davis and Dick Anderson. Dolphins lead at 14-13 here. Just over 5 minutes left in this third quarter. They capitalized on Clark's fumble. Greasy hit Duriel Harris with a pass from 16 out. There's a snap back to McAnally. Gets a good high spiral away. Solomon will go back to the 15-yard line. Looking where to go. Gets to the 20 and will go down at the 21. Over to make the tackle was Boobie Clark. He knocked his feet out from under him. 51-yard boot by McAnally, and there's time out on the field with a score. Dolphins 14, Bengals 13.
Some people wonder, why spend money on replacement windows when they already have good windows in their home? Well, maybe some of these New Sash customer letters will help you understand why. Dear Mr. Johnson, I wondered about spending money on New Sash windows, but my reservations are now gone. My wife thinks they're beautiful and very easy to clean, but the amazing thing is that they keep the thermostat on 65 degrees all winter long, and our furnace only comes on 4 or 5 times a day instead of 10 or 15 times in the past. Thank you. Our New Sash windows are paying for themselves. Well, if fuel savings are important to you this winter, give Bill Johnson a call at 267-8396. New Sash is the only window with a good housekeeping seal of approval, and New Sash replacement windows are custom made for a perfect fit. Call Bill Johnson at 267-8396 and let him show you how to save up to 30% or more in heating costs. That 24-hour number again, 267-8396. Always ask for the original New Sash.
There was a defensive holding penalty called on that punt against the Miami Dolphins, and that gave the Bengals the first down. It's automatic, so they have the ball up at a 40, and they have the first down. Now Griffin is back in the backfield with Pete Johnson. The Bengals at their own 40, trailing by a point, 14-13. Kenny Anderson fakes, quick screen set up to McAnally. Pat gets up to the 45-yard line. Screen to the left. He was hit over there, knocked down by number 77, A.J. Dewey, the right end, drifted out in that right flat. But the pass to McAnally was good for about 4. Set up that quick split end screen left. And it'll be 2nd and 6. Bujnak and Shinners have been alternating all afternoon, bringing in the plays. Sky's beginning to clear a little bit here at Riverfront, but it's still raining. McAnally right, Brooks left. The Dolphins use that 3-4 and have all afternoon. In over right side, Pete Johnson. Pete pulls his way, still on his feet. All the way down over midfield and into Dolphin territory at the 46. Before Beaucamper can haul him down. He went into the right side, and Pete Johnson, driving well, turned that into about a 10-yard gainer to the 46, and that is a Bengal first down. About 3 Dolphins had their arms wrapped around him. They slowed him, but they couldn't bring him down. It looked as though he might break everybody's tackle, but went down at the 46.
That's the only way you can describe that one, Phil, is like a runaway bull. He was just impossible to stop.
Tight on the right side, Brooks split to the left. Now Brooks goes in motion over to the right side. Anderson hands off into the line, getting nothing this time is Johnson. He lost a couple of yards. A.J. Dewey was there, and one of the linebackers moved into that gap and just destroyed that play. That was Steve Toll. And there's a loss. Well, he got it back to the line of scrimmage at the 46. It'll be 2nd and 10. The Dolphins scored from 16 yards out on a greasy to Duriel Harris pass, and have taken the lead 14-13. Brooks far side, McAnally near side. Billy Brooks has not caught a pass this afternoon. Back to throw goes Anderson. Looks down the middle. It's caught, but Trumpy at the 31, and he's down right there. Bob Trumpy straight down the middle. Grabbed that pass, finally nailing him, and bringing him down was cornerback Curtis Johnson. Right straight down the middle to Trumpy at the 30. Good for 16. The Dolphins were not blitzing that time. Well, one of the linebackers was coming. They had a 4-man rush. So in a 3-4, you considered a blitz, but he was picked up. But it was 16 yards, Anderson to Trumpy, and the Bengals keep things alive. They started out back at their 26-yard line. That was where the kickoff was returned after the Dolphins scored. Brooks and McAnally on opposite sides. Anderson back to throw. It's a quick out, a dive, and it's incomplete at the 27-yard line. Curtis Johnson covering up over there on McAnally. Tried a quick out left, unsuccessful at the Dolphins 30. Now it becomes 2nd and 10. We have 2:11 left in this third quarter, and the Dolphins lead the Bengals 14-13. Shinners checks in with the play as Bujnak comes out. So the Bengals set up a field goal with a Dick Anderson fumble. The Dolphins, both Dolphins twice, have converted fumbles into touchdowns. Once from the 7, once from the 16. Brooks right, McAnally left. Anderson goes back to throw. The blitz is on. Fires up a screen to Griffin. Gets away from one man. Archie will get to the 30, the 28, 27-yard line. Set up the screen on the left side. Blowing in was Gordon. He missed him. And finally, A.J. Dewey got over there to drag him down. The Bengals trying to take advantage of a strong Dolphin rush by setting up some short screens. That one materialized only to the extent of a couple yards. And now it will be 3rd down and about 7 at the Dolphin 28. And they go to 4 defensive backs, take out a linebacker.
Bengals are using up a lot of time. They have held the ball here for more than 5 minutes now, just about 5.5 minutes to be exact.
McAnally and Brooks on opposite sides.
Dolphins come up the line of scrimmage. Anderson back to throw. Fires on the flat. Trumpy has it. First down. He's out of bounds at the 18. Bob Trumpy drifting out in the right flat. Took that pass and ran out of bounds. Trumpy gets up rather gingerly. Got it to the 18. He caught it at about the 24 or 5 over on the far side. Turned in, knocked out of bounds, they say, at the 19. So the Bengals get 9 on the play and have the first down. So the Bengals trying to come right back after the Dolphins touchdown that gave them the lead. The Dolphins went to their 5 defensive backs. Charlie Cornelius was in there. Now he's going out.
Bengals with a good drive here, much like Minnesota put on with those 87, 88-yard drives last week up in Bloomington.
This is a slot formation left with Brooks in the slot this time. Anderson again goes back to throw, rolling off to his right, looks, now fires into the end zone, incomplete, intended for Trumpy. He was covered well down there by Vern Robertson. So the Bengals trying to get Trumpy back into the offense again. He has not been much a part of the passing game in these last few weeks. And at the 19, it comes back, and it becomes 2nd and 10. Now Jim Corbett goes into tight end, and Trumpy, who was limping slightly and got up slowly again after falling down on the far side of the field, is coming out of the game. Jim Corbett, a 7th-round draft choice, a rookie from Pittsburgh. McAnally goes out to the right. Brooks comes to the left. The Bengals are at the Miami 19 and have a 2nd and 10. The Dolphins lead at 14-13. Anderson hands off. The blitz is on, and Pete Johnson is nailed at the 24-yard line. That draw play never got out of the blocks. Steve Toll, along with Baumauer and Dewey, were right in there on top of him, and that play was an absolute bust. A loss of 6 back to the 25. The blitz was really on, and the Dolphins just overpowered the Bengals completely. So now it becomes 3rd down and about 16.
That's one of those kind of plays where you're very fortunate not to have a fumble, because Pete was hit just about the same time he took the handoff from Kenny Anderson, a split second before, and that ball could very well have been coughed up.
Brooks far side, near side is McAnally. Anderson back to throw, has time, looks, fires down into the end zone, over Brooks' head. Brooks on the far side was actually out of bounds when he got one hand on the ball, and he and the defender both went sliding along, and are running over to see if either one is hurt, and Brooks is down. He went sliding in. I don't think he hit that steal underneath the far side, way out of the end zone, and Brooks is now being helped to his feet, and he is okay. So now it becomes 4th down, and Chris Barr will go in for a field goal attempt. Barr is booted from 43 and 44, and this one will be from 42 with 33 seconds left. That pass was just a little bit high. Brooks got one hand on it, but even if he had held the ball, he would have been out of bounds. So Marvin Cobb will put it down at the 32. Barr is 11 out of 17 in the year and has drilled 2 long-range field goals this afternoon. This one would give the Bengals a 2-point lead. The lines are down. The Dolphins, the ball is snapped. The kick is away. It is up in the air. It's good. Chris Barr hits his 3rd in a row, and there's timeout on the field. The score now, the Bengals 16 and the Dolphins 14.
Together a whole lot of those bright red Christmas candles like we used to. And we have them available again at your nearby Marathon station. They're so pretty they make you feel good just watching them glow. Marathon Christmas candles at a suggested retail price of $2 for a quarter at your participating Marathon station. No purchase necessary.
Merry Christmas to you, Marathon.
Christmas from Marathon.
It may be an overcast, gloomy afternoon in Cincinnati, but the fans have had something to brighten it up for them, something by the name of Chris Barr, who on 3 occasions has had field goals of 44, 43, and 42, and the Bengals lead at 16-14.
Davis and Anderson are back, and Barr gets a very high kick away. Gary Davis will take it to 3. Out to the 5, to the 10. Now cuts to the right, gets to the 20, and will go down at the 28. Mike Wells knocked his feet out from under him at the 28-yard line. or at about the 23, but he fell forward to the 28 and was pinned down there. So we have just 19 seconds left in his third quarter now. And the Dolphins take it over at their own 28.
Don Nottingham was in on that kickoff team, Phil, and the reason the people were laughing, he had gone to throw a block and had missed somebody, hit at about the 38-yard line and slid all the way up to the 48.
Harris and Davis are in the backfield as the Dolphins start out just outside their 27. Bob Greasy, the quarterback. Greasy fakes, gives it on a reverse around the right side. Harris, he's wrapped up by Coy Bacon and will get nothing. They tried to go with a misdirection play again, the flow to the right, and the pitch back to Harris going left, but Bacon holding his ground, wrapped him right up, and actually there may be a loss of a foot or so on the play. Clock is running, and that will be the last play of this third quarter. We're going to put it down at the 27. It's a loss of a yard, and it becomes 2nd and 11. So as the clock runs down to 1, and there's the gun, and that's the end of the quarter with a score: Bengals 16, Dolphins 14.
Nah, little about the middle of a big boy. When you have a family, you just can't do it alone. Grange Mutual protects you every day. Grange Mutual with you all the way. Your partner in protection.
A football partnership perfected the forward pass. Gus Duray, passer, and Newt Rockney, receiver. The sands of Lake Erie were the proving ground. Perhaps you need a partner to protect the precious things you own and those you love. Your Grange agent is a perfect partner who will study your business and your personal needs. The rates will be reasonable and the claim service fast. When your Grange agent says, "Let's be partners," it's an offer you shouldn't refuse.
Grange Mutual with you all the way. Your partner in protection. When you have a family, you just can't do it alone.
This is the voice of the Cincinnati Bengals in Central Ohio, WMNI. Follow the football action of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish Saturday afternoons here on your sports leader, WMNI in Columbus.
With 15 minutes of playing time remaining, the Bengals lead the Dolphins by a score of 16-14. The Cleveland Browns have taken a third quarter 14-7 lead over the Giants. New England now leading Buffalo 13-7 in the fourth period. The Detroit Lions finally have gone ahead of winless Tampa Bay 9-7. They are in the fourth period. And surprisingly, Philadelphia is leading the St. Louis Cardinals 6-0. They are in the second period.
The winners of the pass, punt, and kick contest were just announced. Wayne Moore, shaken up earlier, is in at left tackle again for the Dolphins, who have a 2nd and 11 at their own 27 as we open play here in the fourth quarter. Greasy back to throw. Looks, fires upfield, is caught at the 40-yard line. Up to the 45, to the 50. Casanova will shove him out of bounds at about the Bengals' 43-yard line. That was Duriel Harris, number 82. Mel Morgan missed a shot at him down there at about the 45, and Casanova had to come over from a safety spot to knock him out of bounds all the way down at the Bengals' 43. So that is a 30-yard gainer, a big pickup for the Dolphins. And they're back in business. This is the third consecutive week that Lamar Parrish has been out at the cornerback spot with that ankle injury. Now Freddie Solomon is split to the left. Bengal cornerback's about 8 yards off. The backs are in an eye. The handoff goes to the second man. That's Gary Davis, and he gets maybe a yard, and that's about all as he tried to whip in through the right side. Coy Bacon along with Jim LeClaire there to knock him down. Also down the bottom of the heap, a couple other Bengals in on the play. The gain is 1 yard, call it, and it will become 2nd and 9. We're in the fourth quarter. Bengals lead it 16-14. The difference is Chris Barr's 42-yard field goal. He's had 43 and 44 earlier. Solomon and Nat Moore split out on opposite sides. Solomon's had a hamstring problem, just in at a wide receiving spot now. He has been receiving punts. Greasy goes back to throw. Looks, fires up the middle, over the head of the intended receiver, and right into the hands of Jerry Anderson, who slipped and could not hold on to it. Greasy overthrew his receiver, went right into the hands of Jerry Anderson, and he could not hold on to the ball at the 20-yard line. He really got up disgusted. So it comes back to the 43, and now it becomes 3rd and 9.
That stops the clock with 14 minutes and 1 second to go here in the fourth period. Bengals with 3 in the first period, 7 in the second, 6 in the third for their 16 points. The Dolphins with touchdowns in both the first and third periods for their 14. The Bengals have intercepted Greasy 3 times this afternoon. Been picked off by Riley, Bo Harris, and Marvin Cobb. So now they go with the 3 wide receivers. Only one running back in with Greasy. It's the slot formation to the right. Greasy goes back to throw, and the Bengals have the blitz on. Out in the flat, a dive and a catch at the 34-yard line. It was caught by the tight end, Jim Mandich, but it all depends where they spot it. It's very close to a first down, but is going to be a little bit short. Bengals arguing the call. See where they have spotted the ball. It's going to bring up a 4th down, and it is right at the 34-yard line. It is going to be 4th down and about inches to go for a first down. And the Dolphins are going for it. 4th and inches, the ball at the Bengal 34. Jim Mandich making only a 2nd catch of the year. This will be just power against power unless the Dolphins go for something out of the ordinary here. They're at the Bengal 34. The handoff and into the line, having the first down at the 31-yard line is Leroy Harris. Jerry Anderson knocked his legs out from under him. Got big blocking in the middle of that Dolphin line, and he burst through that hole and got it down to the 30-yard line, and the Dolphins coming right back now after the Bengals scored that field goal to take the lead. They're putting it at the 31. It'll be first down. Now let's hope that Jerry Anderson's drop of what should have been an intercepted pass will not prove to make any difference. Nat Moore, far side. Near side comes Harris. They're both little guys, 5'9", 5'10", but they can fly. Greasy, a pitch around the right side. Gary Davis spins away and gets down to the 27-yard line for a gain of about 4. Jerry Anderson, Mel Morgan came up to break up the interference. LeClaire and Bo Harris made the stop. They'll put it down at the 27, so it will be a gain of about 4 yards and will be 2nd and 6. Bengals have a 16-14 lead, and there's just over 12 minutes to play in this game. Next Sunday afternoon, the New York Giants will be here. Put wide receivers on both sides. The backs for the wide split behind Greasy. Now Greasy goes back to throw. Looks, fires out in the right flat. Incomplete. Over the head of one man, Gary Davis, and almost picked off the ground down at the 18-yard line by Duriel Harris, but he couldn't quite scoop it up. So now it becomes 3rd and 6 back at the 27. Clock is stopped. 11 minutes and 46 seconds of playing time remaining. Both teams with their 3 timeouts left. Bengals leading by 2 points, 16-14. But the Dolphins are threatening. 3rd down and 6. The ball at the Bengals 27. The Dolphins go back to the 3 wide receivers. They'll run one out of the backfield as Harris has gone out. So they have Solomon, Nat Moore, and Duriel Harris. 3rd and 6, a big play. Greasy back to throw. Looks, fires, it's caught down at the 19-yard line, dragged out immediately, and that's the first down. Caught by Jim Mandich again, the tight end, pulled down by Jerry Anderson, and now the Dolphins are really down. They have a first down at the 19-yard line. Excellent pass protection by Current, Moore, Langer, Kuchenberg, Little up front. Philadelphia now has a 9-0 lead over St. Louis in the second quarter. So the Dolphins come out of the huddle. They will send both Nat Moore and Harris out to the right. Leroy Harris is back in the backfield now with Gary Davis. They're in an eye. Greasy gives the ball to the first man into the line. Harris and much there. He's going to be wrapped up at the 18-yard line. Coy Bacon along with Bo Harris hitting Harris. Let's pause 15 seconds for station identification. This is the Cincinnati Bengals Football Network.
You're listening to the voice of the Cincinnati Bengals in Central Ohio, WMNI, where you'll hear the best in country music. We are your good neighbor, WMNI in Columbus.
The Dolphins have had the ball this entire 4th quarter. They have a 2nd and 9 at the Bengals 18. Backs wide split. Greasy goes back to throw. Fires out in the right flat. Incomplete. Hit immediately just as the ball got there. Mel Morgan wrapped up Lloyd Harris, and the ball popped away. Bo Harris thought it might have been an interception. He picked up the ball, but that one was definitely an incompleted forward pass. In contrast to the one that Nat Moore coughed up down at the 10-yard line, it certainly looked like a reception. So now the two teams both face big plays. The Dolphins with a 3rd and 9 at the Bengal 18. Jim LeClaire looks over to the sidelines to see what defense. He'll go with Norm Bulash in the backfield now, and the 3 wide receivers, Anderson. No, it's Solomon. Solomon, Nat Moore, and Duriel Harris. 3rd down and 9. The Dolphins at the Bengals 19. Greasy back to throw. Looks, fires up, incomplete. Fired intended for Nat Moore down at the 12-yard line, and the pass was past him. So that will bring in Yepremian for an apparent field goal attempt. Some words down there. Nat Moore talking to somebody. I did not see a flag down there. So there's that one. The line of scrimmage is the 19, so it'll 18-yard line. So it'll be about a 35-yard field goal attempt by Yepremian. And Larry Seipel will be the man to hold. Successful field goal will give the Dolphins a 1-point lead. Put the ball right down at the 25. So it'll be a 35-yard boot. Yepremian has missed once this afternoon. The lines are down. The ball is snapped. It's high. Yepremian's boot is away, and it is good. So Yepremian hits, and now the Dolphins go out in front. There's timeout on the field. Score now, Dolphins 17, Bengals 16.
See what's new today in a Chevrolet. It's good news, America. Chevy's new size Malibu. Good news about size, good news about food, good news about styling too.
The new size Malibu is just full of good news, America. Good news about a nifty new size on the outside and an amazing amount of room on the inside. There's good news about trunk space. Good news about ride and comfort and value. And the good news comes 3 ways: as a coupe, a sedan, and a wagon. It's a whole lot of good news, America. And it's at your Chevy dealers now.
There's good news in the trunk space, in the ride and comfort too. It's good news, America. Chevy new size Malibu. It's good news, America. Chevy new size Malibu.
See what's new today in a Chevrolet.
Chevy new size Malibu.
Still plenty of time remaining. 10 minutes and 12 seconds as Garo Yepremian puts Miami back on top 17-16 with a 35-yard field goal. So the pass that Jerry Anderson dropped when it looked like an easy interception did prove costly. Steve Holden is the deep man. Davis and Anderson are shallow. It's a line drive boot that bounces at the 30. Jerry Anderson picks it up at the 12. Running laterally, gets to the 20. Hit down at the 26-yard line. Nailed on the far side of the field by Ed Newman, an offensive guard. So the Bengals, getting their hands on the ball for the first time in this 4th quarter, will be starting out at their own 26. The Dolphins now with a 1-point lead at 17-16. Yepremian has just legged one through from 35 yards out. McDaniels now has replaced Brooks as a wide receiver. Archie Griffin and Pete Johnson are the running backs for the Bengals. Hand off to Griffin, a second man through, and Archie skids through and is hitting upended at the 28-29-yard line. Gained about 3 on the play in over the right side. Nailed there by Baumauer, the nose tackle in that 3-4 defense. So it's out to the 28-yard line. A gain of 2, and it becomes 2nd and 8. The game has been close all the way, never more than 4 points difference throughout the afternoon. So now the Bengals have a slot formation to the right. Only Pete Johnson back behind Anderson. Anderson goes back to throw, looks, fires way over the head, incomplete to McDaniel on the far side of the field. He was out of bounds before Anderson even looked over there to throw. So he threw it away. So now it becomes a 3rd and 8 at the 28.
And that stops the clock, the incompleted pass, with 9 minutes and 21 seconds remaining. Bengals 72 yards away from pay dirt at the 28. They trail by 1 point, 17-16.
The Dolphins go with the 5 defensive backs. Toll goes out. Cornelius comes in. Cornerback's about 8 yards back off that line of scrimmage. Anderson back to throw. Looking. Fires up the middle. Nobody was looking. was intended for McDaniel. Going right by him was Pete Johnson, but Johnson didn't turn around. McDaniel couldn't hold on to it. I don't know who it was intended for. They were both right there together. So now the Bengals will have to boot it away. Freddie Solomon, Dick Anderson, and Gary Davis will all drop back. Solomon will be the middleman. Anderson for the game is 9 out of 21 for 64 yards. 9 minutes, 16 seconds left, and the Dolphins have a 17-16 lead. Crowd quiet here at Riverfront. We need is one of those McAnally boomers here over Solomon's head to carry all the way back inside the 20 someplace. Solomon standing back at about the 32. So Bob Johnson drying his hands off carefully before snapping the ball. There's the snap back to McAnally. He gets a punt away that is not very good. It'll bounce to 35 over the head to the 30, 25, and goes down to the 20 and will roll down dead about the 17-yard line. That ball just slithered and nobody could field it. There's timeout on the field. Score Dolphins 17, Bengals 16.
Imagine this. You are standing in front of a house built from only new sash windows and one new sash door. Now, let's go inside and experience New Sash Quiet. The New Sash Quiet came from the perfect custom fit and the exclusive Thurman pane with its half-inch dead air space. Reducing outside noise is only part of the New Sash story. Eliminating the draft, the freezing winter wind, or the boiling summer air, the outside stays out because of the perfect New Sash fit. For you, this means lower fuel bills, up to 30% lower. It makes dollars and cents to replace your worn-out windows and replace them with New Sash, the original replacement window. For more information, call New Sash Collect, 614-267-8396. That's 267-8396. Your New Sash windows also tilt in for easy cleaning and for enjoying the fresh spring and fall air.
Dolphins back at their own 17-yard line. 9 minutes and 4 seconds remaining in the ball game. The Dolphins lead the Bengals by 1 point, 17-16. This is where the Bengals defense has to rise up, hold the Dolphins, force them to punt, let the Bengals get back down at least within field goal shot again. In the fourth quarter now, the Cleveland Browns lead the New York Giants 21-7.
Crowd in the end zone really prodding on this Bengals defense. The Dolphins take over at the 17. Of a wide man split to the right. Davis and Harris, the running backs. Handoff coming around to the left side as Harris gets around a corner to the 25-yard line and runs out of bounds. Reggie Williams had hold of him, but they gained about 8 yards on the first play as big Leroy Harris comes rolling around to his left and ran out of bounds right at the 25. So that's a gain of 8. And quickly, that will bring up a 2nd and 2. Harris has gained 91 yards now on 18 carries. That's about 5 yards a pop. Dolphins have a 17-16 lead, and we have just under 9 minutes to play. The back split behind Greasy. Handoff around the right side. Goes Davis running wide. Gets around the corner. Breaks into the clear and will be knocked out of bounds on the far side of the field finally by Burley at about the Dolphins' 43-yard line. That was Leroy Harris again. He went left. That time he went right. And they're going to spot it at the 41-yard line. So quickly he picks up 9 and now, or 8 and now 16. And the Dolphins have got that ball out into excellent field position now already on 2 plays.
Harris with a very deceptive gait when he runs. He started right that time, running almost in slow motion, waiting for something to develop, waiting for those blocks to form, and they did, and he just took off and turned on the jets.
So he's over the 100-yard mark in rushing now. The Dolphins with the first down at their 41. They send Nat Moore over to take up a flanker spot on the right side. The backs are in an eye. Hand off to the second man, Gary Davis. He's wrestled down as he hits the 44. He tried the right side. Gary Burley was there to smack him down. So Gary Davis, the second-year man from Cal Poly at San Luis Obispo, picks up 3 to the 44. And it's 2nd and 7. The Bengals, of course, have to get their hands back on this ball. Keep the Dolphins from scoring. Now Kenny Johnson comes out of the ball game, and Walter Johnson goes in. Kenny Johnson has been playing at the defensive tackle spot. He's limping slightly as he comes off. So Walter Johnson in for the first time this afternoon. Slot formation to the left, back split behind Greasy. Greasy now on a draw play, gives off, coming into the line, getting maybe a yard or so, and that's about all as Leroy Harris. They tried a draw play, tried to trap in the middle, but the Bengals are waiting. Coy Bacon in on the stop along with Bo Harris. Down at the bottom of the heap is LeClaire. He may have made a yard on the play to the 45, but now that will bring up the 3rd and 6, and here is where the Bengals have to hold right here.
Clock running, 7:50, time remaining, and the Bengals trail by a single solitary point. It's 17-16. At halftime, the Bengals had a 10-7 lead. Nat Moore right, Duriel Harris left. They got the three wide receivers in. Bulash is the only running back. Greasy on a draw play, hands off, and it's not going anywhere. It's wrapped up at about the 47-yard line. About 6 Bengals all over. Norm Bulash tried to cross him up on the draw play. He got it up to about the 47-yard line. They're saying the 49-yard line, but it's going to be about 2 yards short of a first down. And Mike Michelle now will have to go in and punt it away, and the Bengals will get it back with just under 7 minutes remaining. Now Tony Davis will drop back in the deep safety spot. Steve Holden fumbled one that set up a Dolphins touchdown, just as he did last week, that set up a Minnesota touchdown. Marvin Cobb is back there. So is Jerry Anderson along with Tony Davis. Mike Michelle, a rookie from Stanford, who's averaging 41-2. He's done a good punting job for the Dolphins this year. There's a snap back. It's a good one. He gets the punt away, drives it over. The Bengals taken by Tony Davis, 18. Up to the 25. Tony to the 30, 31-yard line. So Tony Davis fielded that one, returned it to the 32, and there's timeout on the field. Score, Dolphins 17, Bengals 16.
Sometimes the golden times will have to come on strong. When friends close together, just won't be alone. For all those golden times, there's the golden sea. All the way with 14 Ks, that's beautiful beer. It's happy beauty time. Beauty time, and we're happy to have some right here. It's happy beauty time. Hey, have a beautiful beer. It's happy beauty time. It's happy beauty time, and we're happy to have some right here. It's happy beauty time. Hey, have a beautiful beer.
The pride of Cincinnati's great brewing tradition. Beautiful Brewing Company, Cincinnati, Ohio.
Bengals with a 1st and 10 at their own 31. They have 6.5 minutes in which to do something. Final score just in. The Bears 10, the Vikings 7.
That cuts the Vikings' lead over the Bears to just a game. Corbett is the tight end now. Bill Brooks back in at the wide receiving spot. Anderson loses the ball. Oh, holds on to it. Fires upfield. Caught by Corbett at the 40, 45-yard line. I thought Anderson dropped the ball. He did. Picked it up off the ground and then threw to Corbett, the tight end. He got it out to the 45. I was looking for the ball to bounce loose, but fortunately it bounced right back into Anderson's hand. 14-yard gain. Jim Corbett doing a curl down at the 45-yard line, pulled it in. We're down to about 6 minutes left to play, and the Bengals need a field goal. They trailed 17-16. A touchdown, of course, would be much safer. McAnally left, Brooks right. Griffin and Johnson, the running backs. Hand off. Griffin, second man, gets the ball. Archie cuts through to midfield and all the way down to the Dolphins' 48-yard line before he can be wrestled down by Bowcamper. So that's a gain of about 7 or 8 yards for Archie Griffin, snaking in through the right side into Dolphin territory at the 47. It'll be second down and about 2.5 to go for the first down. Now we're down to 5.5 minutes remaining.
Peyton had 275 yards rushing this afternoon against Minnesota.
He had over 1,100 yards going in. That's incredible.
Wow.
Bengals with a second and long, 2 at the Dolphin 47. Hand off to Pete Johnson. Pete bowls his way, gets a couple of yards to about the 45 before he's stacked up by 3-4 Dolphins as he tried to go in over the right side. Now Trumpy is checking into the Bengals lineup. Pete Johnson floored by a lot of Dolphins, including Baumauer, Denherder, Bowcamper. The ball is just short of the 45-yard line. He made a couple, so it'll be third down and still about a foot or so to go for the first down. So McAnally comes out, and the Bengals will check in with an additional tight end, Mike Cobb. They have Tony Davis in the backfield now, along with Pete Johnson, to give him a little more blocking, and the Bengals have got to make a first down, of course, right here. Dolphins jam it up tight on the line. Anderson to Pete Johnson. Pete dives over and has the first down. As he goes in the left side, he gets it down to perhaps the 43, just diving in over the stack. While they unstack, the clock is stopped with 4:27, and the Bengals at the Dolphins' 43 have the first down.
Big play there for the Bengals. Now the clock starts once again. The official signals the clock to start. It moves on down to 4 minutes and 20 seconds. Bengals want to get it down close enough here to give Chris Barb another shot at it. Bengals trail by 1 point, 17-16.
Well, they put the ball back actually to about the 44.5-yard line, so he just made the first down.
Now Brooks comes in motion from the far side to the near side. Anderson fakes the handoff, goes back to throw, fires downfield. A dive, was it a catch by McAnally? Beautiful grab by McAnally. Down at the 28-yard line, the pass was high, and he just went right up over Ken Robertson. And there was a great catch by Pat McAnally that puts the Bengals in position down at the Dolphins' 28-yard line. And McAnally had to stretch all of his 6'5" to reach that football, and he did it.
That's the kind of pass we were talking with Chip Myers about at halftime when Chip Myers was Mr. Clutch performer for the Bengals. That's the kind of grab you'd see him make quite often. Greatest grab of the afternoon by McAnally.
So the Bengals now with 3:25 left. Have the ball 1st and 10 at the Dolphin 28. Anderson with the ball, gives it to Pete Johnson. Pete running around the outside, will be hit and knocked down right about at the line of scrimmage. Tim Foley came up from the safety spot to make the stop as he tried to rotate around his right side, and there was nothing there, and actually at the loss of a yard back to the 29, it becomes 2nd and 11. New England knocked off Buffalo 20-7 this afternoon. Cleveland leading the Giants 21-7 in the 4th quarter. Denver and Kansas City tied 7-7 in the 2nd. 2:50 is the time remaining. The Bengals want to get it a little closer for a field goal attempt if that becomes necessary. McAnally far side, McDaniel near side. Anderson hands off to Griffin. McDaniel on an end around, back all alone, down into the end zone. Trumpy, touchdown! Bob Trumpy, touchdown! There was the triple pass. The Bengals pulled it out, and Trumpy broke down into the end zone all by himself. And the Bengals are down there all over him. Well, Jimmy Crum, we can remember when the Bengals used to use that triple pass all the time. And that time, it was a handoff to two different men. Finally wound up back in the hands of Ken Anderson, and Trumpy was all alone down in the end zone. And Anderson found him for the touchdown, and the Bengals go out in front 22-17.
Boy, that's some of the old-fashioned razzle-dazzle that really brings the crowd to its feet and really puts the excitement back in the ballgame.
Trumpy was looking right, and he had to turn around and catch it looking left. There, the ball is back. The kick is up in the air, and it's good. So now the Bengals scoring a touchdown, and he moved it some 69 yards to score, and he dusted off the old triple pass and found it just in the right place. Anderson got it back, and there was nobody near Trumpy. They saw him down there too late, and it looked as though Anderson might have a little trouble getting a handle on the ball. But he finally found it, and Trumpy grabbed it in the end zone, and the Bengals are out in front 23-17.
My Grange insurance agent seems to think of everything. Even though I'm a renter rather than a homeowner, I need to protect ever so many things. He suggested that I make an inventory of the contents of my apartment, and I was amazed how much of this world's goods I really own. Jewelry, silverware, skis and tennis gear, stereo, TV, my furniture, including some family antique heirlooms I could never afford to replace. I'm away all day, so it's really assuring to know Grange has me covered around the clock. I hope nothing ever happens, but it's nice to know that Grange has to do the worrying now that I'm one of their policyholders. Grange Unhomeowners Insurance is one of the smartest things I've bought lately.
Why not call your Grange agent? Look in the yellow pages under insurance. Grange offers mighty attractive rates on protection for renters and condominium owners.
Charged by the ticket office. Either way, don't miss any of the exciting Bengals action this fall. Well, the Bengals kickoff hit on the 10-yard line, bounced over into the end zone and went out of bounds, so the Dolphins will be starting at their 20. There's 2:28 left to play. The Bengals out in front 23-17. They have wide men on both sides. Bob Greasy, the quarterback. Greasy drops back to throw. Fires off a screen to the right side. Is caught back at the 15-yard line. And out of bounds, losing the ball, but he recovered it at the 23. That was Leroy Harris taking that screen pass to the left. He had to make a juggling catch reaching up high, caught it at the 15-yard line, then brought it out to the 23, fumbled it. Reggie Williams banged him down there, but he recovered it. So after all that action, there's a gain of 3, and it becomes 2nd and 7, and we're at the 2-minute warning now. So there are 2 minutes remaining in the game. The Dolphins have a 2nd and 7 at their own 23. It's been a long time since we've seen the Bengals dust off that old triple pass. Anderson hands off. It's handed off again. It's handed off back to Anderson, and Trumpy drifting downfield was all alone as he really caught the Dolphin defense napping, and it went in from 29 yards out. And the Bengals have taken a 23-17 lead. The touchdown pass came with about 2 minutes and 45 seconds left to go in the game. So it'll be 2nd and 7 for the Dolphins at the 23. The Cleveland Browns are out in front of the Giants 21-17, so if the Bengals hold on to win, the Browns will still be a game ahead. And the Browns take on the Los Angeles Rams next week.
Starting in about 10 minutes will be the Dallas-Pittsburgh game. Pittsburgh, of course, a game ahead of the Bengals. Houston is playing Seattle. And you figure Houston to win that one. A surprising one this afternoon is Philadelphia has a 9-0 lead over St. Louis in the second quarter. And the Bears, favorites over the Vikings because of their loss of Fran Tarkenton, did knock off the Minnesota Vikings 10-7. New England has beaten Buffalo 20-7. Detroit has a 9-7 lead over Tampa Bay in the fourth period. And it's an unusual and a real novelty when Tampa Bay scores a touchdown. They've got one this afternoon. So we have 2 minutes left here. Both teams have all 3 timeouts remaining. The Dolphins will have a 2nd and 7 at their own 23. That crowd down in the end zone really imploring the Bengals defense, and Gary Burley encouraging them to yell and get the whole crowd yelling, and this stadium does come to life now after Burley raises up his hands and spurs on this crowd. So they have wide men split on both sides. The back's in a big split behind Greasy. Down to 2 minutes. Greasy back to throw. Look, fires upfield. Incomplete. Just off the hands of Duriel Harris at the 45. He reached high but couldn't come up with it. He was open in the middle, running that post at the 45, but he couldn't hold on, so it'll become 3rd and 7 now at the 23. Now Duriel Harris has gone out. It looks as though he may have slightly pulled a muscle. He pulled up rather lamely after catching that ball, and he's been replaced by Fred Solomon. So here it is, the big play, 3rd and 7. The Dolphins have the ball at their own 23. Freddie Solomon goes to the right. Coming to the left is Harris. The back split behind Greasy, and his crowd really pounding on the floor of this stadium. Greasy back to throw. Look, pass is deflected, incomplete. Either Coy Bacon or Kenny Johnson, one of the two, may have gotten a hand on that ball. I believe it was Kenny Johnson. Now that'll bring up a 4th down for the Dolphins and 7 yards to go, and they're going to send in their punter with a minute 49 left to play, and they have 3 timeouts remaining. So Mike Michelle will be in the boot. Tony Davis will drop back with Marvin Cobb and Jerry Anderson. Mike Michelle, the rookie from Stanford. The Bengals lead it 23-17, a minute 49 to go as they pull that triple pass out of the hat. And Anderson hit Trumpy in the end zone for the touchdown. So the Dolphins getting set to boot. The snap is low. Michelle picks it up, gets a good high spiral away, and Tony Davis will just let it bounce. Bounces at the Bengals 43, and it'll be kicked by a Dolphin and is downed and dead right there at about the 43-yard line. Well, the Bengals will take over. A short punt by Michelle. Put it up high in the air, and no Bengal made any effort to touch it. They were just going to let that ball bounce, and it did not take a Dolphin bounce. In fact, it stopped just about at the point where it hit, at the 44-yard line. Now, the Bengals can force the Dolphins to use all their timeouts here if they want to stop that clock. McAnally comes out. A minute and 37 seconds, the time remaining. The Bengals have to have it to stay alive. Michelle has averaged just 33 yards a kick. That's what he booted right there. Pete Johnson and Griffin are the running backs. Anderson hands off. Pete Johnson blows up the middle, gets to the Dolphin territory at about the 48-yard line, ripping in just over the left side in guard. They call it the 49-yard line, so that is a pickup of 7 yards. And now, timeout is called with a minute 21 left, and the Miami Dolphins have called it. And Bo Camper, or Toll, will go over to talk to Bill Arnsparger on the far side of the field. It'll be 2nd down and about 3 yards to go for the Bengals first down at the Dolphin 49-yard line. Clock is stopped with a minute 21 left. The Dolphins have used up one of their 3 timeouts. The let crowd imploring the Bengals defense is probably the loudest we have heard it all year long. There was a small segment down in the end zone that was up on its feet. And Gary Burley, for the 2nd time this afternoon, waving his arms up in the air, looking for support from that crowd, and this time the whole stadium gave it to him. Tony Davis goes into the backfield now, replacing Archie Griffin for the Bengals. Mike Cobb and Bob Trumpy are both in at tight end. If the Bengals can pick up a first down here, they can run the Dolphins right out of timeouts. And the Dolphins certainly will call another one after this play is over right here. If the Dolphins lose, they would drop a couple of games back of Baltimore, providing Baltimore beats the Jets. They had a 12-3 lead in the second quarter. So it's 2nd down and about 3 yards to go for the Bengals. Handoff into the line, Pete Johnson, and Pete may have the first down at the 45-yard line. He's pulled down by Dewey. Baumauer in on the stop, and the ball is inside the 46, and it is the first down. So Pete Johnson, on 2 successive runs, picks up the first down. The ball is just shy of the Miami 45-yard line. Philadelphia now ahead of St. Louis 16-0. Well, I'm sorry to see that in a couple of ways. One, the Bengals get the first-round draft choice in Philadelphia, and the other is that if they hold on and win that ball game, the Cowboys know about it. Of course, Cowboys got a little incentive to try to put that division title away. They could take a 3-game lead this afternoon with just 4 games to play. The Dolphins have called a timeout to stop the clock here. Now the Bengals can take their time and run them out of timeouts because it's the 1st and 10 at the Dolphin 45, and the Dolphins have just 1 timeout remaining. Bengals can almost run down everything that is on the clock before they have to give up the football. They may do no more than flop on it. Archie Griffin and Pete Johnson, the former Ohio State pair in the backfield. Handoff. Pete Johnson breaks into the clear. 40 down to the 35-yard line. And he may have made 10 yards right there. He was upended by Vern Robertson in the secondary. And Bob Johnson is up gimpily, limping back into the huddle for the Cincinnati Bengals. Bob has been playing with a very sore wrist for the last 6 weeks and looks as though it's a knee or an ankle. And now the Dolphins have taken their last timeout. And the Bengals have a 1st and 10 down at the 35-yard line. The Dolphins have called a timeout, but the Bengals now are getting free assistance from the trainer and the doctor because of Bob Johnson, but Bob just waves them away. So the Dolphins with 1 minute and 1 second left on the clock, and the Bengals now can just flop the ball, and undoubtedly that's all Anderson will do. The Dolphins were grouped in tight trying to stop that run, and when Pete Johnson burst through, only a couple of men between him and the goal line. Now Anderson can just flop on it, run it down. The clock does not start, of course, until the ball is snapped, and Anderson just takes it and goes to the ground. And they'll let the clock run now. They'll just have to do it one more time, and there's nothing the Miami Dolphins can do about it. And the Bengals will come out of here with a 23-17 win, and the Dolphins will drop 2 games back of the Baltimore Colts. Counting playoff games and regular season games, the Bengals have not defeated the Dolphins since 1969. In 68 and 69, under the old alignment, the Bengals used to play the Miami Dolphins twice. Now the Bengals will have to flop it just one more time, and that'll be it. We're down to 25 seconds. There's the snap. Anderson goes to the ground, and that will be all. 20 seconds left, and the Bengals can just let the clock run out. They're coming off the field, and the Bengals have stayed alive in this race with a 23-17 verdict over the Miami Dolphins. They're both teams going out on the field. 5 seconds left. The clock's just running off. Bill Johnson heading down toward the Bengals dressing room, waving his hand in the air. And a jubilant salute to victory as the Bengals have knocked off the Dolphins 23-17. The Dolphins have lost 3 now, and one of those losses to San Diego came on the very last play of the game. So the Baltimore Colts could have a 2-game lead if they knock off the Jets.
Today's episode is brought to you by thisdayinthenfl.com. Celebrating football's greatest moments, one day at a time. Listen to classic broadcasts, explore historic games, and keep the legacy of the NFL alive at thisdayinthenfl.com.